Chapter 3000. Ning Shu could only say that he was lucky to be able to sell it at such a price. If he had sold it alone, he wouldn't have been able to achieve such an effect. Ning Shu asked, "Who bought the bead? Was it the person who bought the spirit stone?" Since he had bought the spirit stone, he would definitely try his best to get the bead. That way, he would be able to absorb the spirit stone without any worries. Si Tian shook his head. He couldn't get it, but it was my turn immediately. He asked if I still had such a bead and if he could pay for it. The rarer something was, the more valuable it was. Everyone thought that there was only one bead, but there were more people competing for it. As a result, this item was sold at such a high price. Those who had spirit stones wanted the fire bead even more. Even those who didn't have spirit stones could refine their spirit balls, but the price was too high, so they would definitely give up. Those who had spirit stones might not necessarily do the same. Without the fire bead, the spirit stone was almost useless. He knew that it contained spirit power, but he couldn't absorb it. This feeling was fucking ridiculous. It was like there was money in front of him, but he couldn't spend a single cent. Si Tian sized up Ning Shu's expression and asked, "Mayor, do you still have such a bead? If you do, I can sell it at a high price." Ning Shu smiled and shook his head. "I don't have it." Even if he did, he wouldn't take it out so quickly. Si Tian calculated the account. 11 million spirit stones, 30 million fire beads, a total of 40 million. 10% commission and 4 million processing fee. I'll give you 36 million merit points. Si Tian transferred the merit points to Ning Shu and said, "Check carefully." Ning Shu had already seen the news. It was the first time he had so much money. In the blink of an eye, 25 million wasn't his anymore. With the remaining 10 million plus the 7 to 8 million he had, he wasn't that short of money with 20 million in his hands. Ning Shu said to Si Tian, "Sorry to trouble you." Si Tian said indifferently, "It's just business." Ning Shu nodded. Si Tian took 4 million from the commission alone. If she had to pick up trash, she would have to pick up 40 times to earn that much. 1 million fragments at a time, so he would have to pick up 40 million fragments to earn that much money. However, Si Tian had only auctioned off these 2 treasures, not to mention that he wasn't the only auction item. Some of the items were auctioned off, while others were items from the auction house. In short, holding an auction would earn him a huge amount of merit points. Ning Shu's eyes turned red. He did not know who was behind Si Tian. By the time Ning Shu paid the bill and left the auction house, the auction had already ended. The crowd was rushing towards the exit of the auction house. Ning Shu scanned with his spiritual force and found that the Cheongsam man really came. He squeezed over and patted the Cheongsam man on the shoulder and asked, "What do you want?" The Cheongsam man turned to Ning Shu and said, "Let's talk outside." It was too crowded. After they left, the Cheongsam man said, "Aren't you broke? Why are you here to join in the fun?" The Cheongsam man narrowed his foxy eyes. "Don't tell me you borrowed money to buy equipment for your gigolo?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I didn't buy anything. What did you buy?" The Cheongsam man's face was a little pale. He hurriedly fanned himself and said, "Secondary fire bead." Ning Shu was speechless. Sure enough, the Cheongsam man had a spirit stone in his hand. Ning Shu looked at him sympathetically. "Did you buy it?" "Yes, but someone kept raising the price. I even suspected that the auction house was rigged." The Cheongsam man's face turned even paler. It was a fire bead worth more than 30 million. 30 million to buy a bead. It just so happened that he needed it. It was quite ridiculous. Ning Shu looked at him sympathetically. At the same time, he would never tell him that he was the one who sold the bead. The Cheongsam man said, "It's not that I don't want to lend you money, but I took a fancy to a treasure. However, this bead appeared out of nowhere and I ended up spending all my money on it." Ning Shu shook his head. No. This time, the Cheongsam man really rolled his eyes, but he had to take it. The Cheongsam man looked at Ning Shu. "You also came for the fire bead. I remember that you have a spirit stone in your hand. I'm just here to join in the fun. You know that I have no money." Ning Shu was a little afraid to talk with the Cheongsam man. He found an excuse and slipped away. Back in the system space, Ning Shu immediately replied to the skeleton, saying that he didn't see the news before and that he would pay the commission now. With money, Ning Shu spoke much more boldly. It was really cool to be rich. After Ning Shu paid the commission, his wallet shrank a lot. Ning Shu was so distressed that he felt suffocated. He was so sad that he wanted to cry. Fortunately, he still had nearly 20 million merit points. Ning Shu exchanged some merit points and went to the world of samsara with a basket. Li Si was guarding these skeletons closely. These skeletons were very dull now. It seemed that they really didn't move much. They just stood there, motionless. Or they sat on the ground and seemed to be thinking. Skeletons were really wise to think. Ning Shu shouted, "Babies, come and eat something. Line up. I'll earn some money and have a good meal." Ning Shu gave Li Si 3 merit grains and said, "If you jump into the reincarnation pool again, I'll press you down and you can't get up." Li Si waved his hand guiltily. "You don't have to give it to me. Just give it to them. I've already eaten a lot." This time, Li Si knew that Ning Shu was angry when he jumped into the reincarnation pool. Ning Shu still gave him the merit grains. "Your body is covered in white and gold. It's ugly." He looked like he had vitiligo. "In the future, you'll have one more task. That is to watch these skeletons and be careful of the souls that are plotting against you." Ning Shu said to Li Si, "When the skeletons are cultivated, you'll have time to find your master." Maybe because there were skeletons, Li Si was no longer so unique. Even if he went to find Pai Lupi, Ning Shu wouldn't care much. As for the merit points spent on him, it would be Li Si's reward for guarding the reincarnation pool. After all, guarding the reincarnation pool every day was very boring. Ordinary people couldn't hold on. "Thank you. I know. I'll definitely teach them everything I know," Li Si said solemnly. To be fair, she had been kind to him since they met. "But, damn master, where are you now?" Ning Shu said, "There's no hurry now. Teaching them can wait for a while." The skeletons were very weak now. There was no hurry to teach them. What they needed now was the blessing of merit. The merit would make them stronger before teaching them. If they were too anxious now, they would only collapse the skeletons. These skeletons were painstakingly made by Ning Shu. Even in the process of cultivation, some would be eliminated. Ning Shu hoped that these skeletons could survive and become stronger during the cultivation process. Chapter 3001. If she lost a skeleton, Ning Shu felt that she would cry. She might have fallen in love with skeletons. The skeletons had already lined up. The line was very long and they were very obedient. No one cut in line. These skeletons were still in the stage of cognitive impairment. After a while, their personalities would be revealed. This time, Ning Shu gave 2 merit points to each skeleton, which cost more than 4.8 million. Including the exchange difference, she spent 5 million. It sounded like a lot, but there were only 2 merit points in the hands of these skeletons. The skeletons opened their mouths and Ning Shu threw them into their mouths. When she met a marked skeleton, she would give 1 more merit point. "I will give you some merit points in the future. Feed them regularly," Ning Shu said to Li Si. Li Si nodded. Since she wanted to cultivate them, she could not directly throw the merit points into the skeletons' mouths when they reached a certain level. She had to use a reward system. Otherwise, she would cultivate some piglets that only knew how to stretch their necks and wait to be fed. Ning Shu wanted skeletons that could destroy the disaster beasts in the world of samsara and fight outside. Otherwise, why would she spend so much merit points? After feeding the skeletons the merit points, crunching sounds could be heard. These skeletons had serious expressions as they chewed on the merit points. They spat out some that they could not chew and then put them into their mouths to continue chewing. Their mandibles moved. Ning Shu supported her chin and looked at these skeletons. The more she looked at them, the more she felt that they were delicate and pretty. She felt that skeletons were not scary at all. Instead, they were quite cute. Even when they were eating, they were so cute. Her aesthetic was gradually changing, but Ning Shu was very happy. "I'm leaving. Look after them." Ning Shu held the black bone umbrella and left. She was going to find Elder Qi and ask him about the law of space. She wanted to know why the law of space she comprehended could not quickly build a long and sturdy space passage. She was always troubling others. She wondered if Elder Qi was still hiding. He should have come out to set up a stall. Ning Shu went to the alley in the Time City to find Elder Qi. He couldn't figure out why Elder Qian, who was a master of the space laws, didn't set up a stall in his own spatial city. Why did he have to come to the Time City? In short, he had no idea what these experts were thinking. Fortunately, Elder Qian had already come out to set up his stall. Elder Qian stroked his beard and asked Ning Shu in high spirits, "Young lady, what information do you want to buy?" Ning Shu said, "You're fine. After you left, the judge came." "It's fine. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have set up my stall here," Elder Qian said. "Whatever news you want, you can find it here." Ning Shu was not in a position to ask Elder Qian what punishment he had received. It was mainly because they were not familiar with each other and some things were not appropriate to ask. Ning Shu said, "Actually, I'm here to ask you something." Elder Qi said, "By a spatial tunnel." Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't need it." Elder Qi said, "By a spatial tunnel." Ning Shu said, "I'm not here for news. I have something else to ask you." Elder Qi said, "By a spatial tunnel." Ning Shu was speechless. All right, he had to buy a spatial tunnel to continue the conversation. Ning Shu asked, "What treasures are you looking for this time?" Elder Qian said in a low voice, "Information about the world tree." Ning Shu touched the meatball on his head reflexively. The world tree did not need it. Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't need the world tree. Is there any other information?" Elder Qian said in a low voice, "It's about the secondary fire pearl. The pearl has been on fire recently." Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu shook his head again. "I don't need it either. There are other things, such as soul crystals and spirit stones." "There are, but some things are restricted now. There aren't many tunnels." "Something like that happened a while ago," Elder Qian said. Ning Shu nodded to show that he understood. He asked, "Then what other treasures are there?" Elder Qian said, "How about the law of nothingness?" Ning Shu was speechless. "Old man, why do you always poke at my sore spot? These things are too dangerous." "Did you make them?" Ning Shu asked, "What's the law of nothingness? Did the world of nothingness give birth to these things?" Elder Qian stroked his beard and nodded. "Yes, but it's not big. These things are best used against enemies. Just throw a basin at them and they won't survive. Hurry up. I've already sold a few spatial tunnels." Ning Shu quickly shook his head. "I don't want this." She did not want to play with this thing at all. She had not solved one problem at home. If another one came, she would definitely go overboard. Playing with the law of nothingness was like playing with fire. If she was not careful, she would die. Ning Shu asked uncertainly, "Is there really someone who bought the information to find this thing? Was he not afraid of being devoured?" Thinking about the boundless law of nothingness in the ultimate martial arts, Ning Shu was worried sick. He would not go looking for such a thing to cause trouble for himself. Moreover, there were so many treasures in the world. It was impossible for all of them to be his. Ning Shu was quite indifferent to what he had lost. Elder Qian said, "Of course there will be people looking for it. Even if they don't need it, they can sell it to others. There will always be people who will buy it." Ning Shu was speechless. "Old man, you're poking at my lung again." She had bought the law of nothingness. It turned out that the one she had bought before was found by someone else and sold to a fool. Ning Shuzhen's heart was really stuffy. She said dispiritedly, "Is there anything else?" Elder Qian felt that this girl was really hard to please. She could not do this or that, so he asked, "Then do you want a majestic mount?" Ning Shu was speechless. "Old man, where am I going to put my majestic mount? Where should I put it?" She already had a lot of skeletons to feed. She really did not want to get a mount. A mount that was too powerful probably would not be willing to be ridden by others. Although Ning Shu wanted to use the space passage to attract more attention and ask Elder Qian some questions about the law of space, he could not just buy one casually. This kind of passage could easily cost millions of merit points. Ning Shu was not so rich that he could get 1,000 merit grains for 1 million merit points. Elder Qian said, "What do you want?" Ning Shu rolled his eyes and asked, "Is there anything that can deal with the law of nothingness? Since the law of nothingness could be born, there must be something corresponding to it. Otherwise, when the law of nothingness expanded, it would swallow everything in its path." Elder Qian narrowed his eyes and thought for a while. "I haven't found anything yet. Pick something else." Ning Shu said, "Then pick a world with soul crystals." He stored some soul power. "By the way, the space passage I bought from you last time was connected to the territory of His Excellency. Did you know that I was almost eaten by His Excellency?" No, she had been swallowed by the guardian of her world of samsara. She was almost digested. Chapter 3002. How impudent of him. His Excellency actually acted as if nothing had happened and even blamed the black fog for having diarrhea because he swallowed her. Elder Qian was stunned for a moment before he said, "Fortunately, His Excellency didn't complain about me." Ning Shu was speechless. "Old Master, the main point is that I was swallowed. If not for the black bone umbrella, I don't know how badly my soul would have been contaminated. This is a void world with soul crystals." Elder Qian passed the fur to Ning Shu. Ning Shu took it and asked, "This time, it won't connect to His Excellency's territory again, right?" Although His Excellency usually looked easy to talk to, Ning Shu did not dare to challenge him. After all, he could swallow her in one gulp. She was just food. Elder Qian replied, It won't." Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu gave Elder Qian 5 million. The spatial passageway in the soul crystal realm was slightly cheaper than in other realms. After keeping the spatial passageway, Ning Shu lowered his posture and said to Elder Qian, "Elder Qian, I have something to ask you this time." Elder Qian stroked his beard and said, "What is it? If I know, I will tell you." Ning Shu asked him about all the problems he encountered when building the spatial passageway. "Why do I always get it wrong?" Elder Qian listened and said, "Build a spatial passageway for me to see. I can't make a conclusion without seeing it." Ning Shu immediately built a spatial passageway. Elder Qian glanced at it and saw the problem. He shook his head and said, "Idiot, how can you build a spatial passageway like this?" Ning Shu asked, "What's the problem?" "I feel very tired, but I can't build a long spatial passageway." Other people could build a long spatial passageway in an instant. Ning Shu was envious but also confused. He really did not understand why he could not build one. Elder Qian looked at Ning Shu with disdain. "Your spatial passageway is worse than a child's building blocks." Ning Shu was speechless. She really didn't have any talent. Elder Qian coughed, straightened his back, and stroked his beard. Ning Shu blinked and said to Elder Qian, "Elder Qian, why don't we stop setting up the stall? Let me invite you to a restaurant for some tea and something to eat." Elder Qi shook his head. "There's no need. I have a business to do. If I leave, do you know how much of my business you'll be delaying?" Ning Shu had no choice but to go to the restaurant and buy some drinks, tea, pastries, and some delicious dishes, which cost him a little money. If you want to consult someone, you have to have the attitude of a person asking for advice. He did not know when he would be able to figure it out. There must be something to learn from the 3 human forms. Furthermore, Elder Qian was the embodiment of the law of space. Obtaining some guidance from him would be much better than pondering over it for 100 years. Ning Shu put the things down. "Elder Qi, I bought something for you to moisten your throat." "Thank you, but how can I accept this? If I let you spend so much money, others will say that I'm taking advantage of the younger generation." Elder Qi waved his hand and refused. Ning Shu wanted to scratch his head. He knew that he had to tickle Elder Qian's itch. Elder Qian said, "The way you build the stabilizing frame is wrong. It's too dense and wastes mental energy. It's too slow. You only need to build a stabilizing tripod at the key points. Have you ever seen a bridge that needs to be supported by dense piers?" Ning Shu shook his head. Other than stabilizing the interior, you also need to stabilize the exterior of the spatial passage. You only know one thing but not the other. Elder Qian poured some wine and said to Ning Shu, "Try to find a suitable spatial node." Don't build a triangular shape that stabilizes the spatial passage. Do you understand? Ning Shu scratched his head. How do I find one? You build it first. Elder Qian was expressionless. Build the passage first, then find a suitable spatial node to reinforce it. Do you understand? Why are you so stupid? It's like building a bridge. Other than the body of the bridge, you also need the support of the piers. You can't just build a passage. Do you understand? Stupid. Ning Shu said, I'm just stupid in this aspect. Ning Shu built a spatial passage and looked at Elder Qian. Elder Qian took a sip of wine. Build a structure that stabilizes the passage at a certain distance. For example, a tripod. Ning Shu built one at a certain distance. Elder Qian said, just build one at a certain distance. Why are you so afraid of your spatial passage collapsing? Ning Shu had no choice. He could only let himself loose and build a passage at random. Then he built a support at a random point and asked Elder Qian, Can I? Elder Qian glanced at him. Yes, stabilize the exterior. Ning Shu asked carefully, How do you stabilize the exterior? She had always stabilized the interior. She had never heard of stabilizing the exterior. This was the consequence of working behind closed doors. Some things needed some inspiration. She had only just met Elder Qian. Otherwise, she would have come to ask for his advice. Elder Qian did not want to say anything. No one taught you? I blindly tried to figure it out myself. I spent a lot of time, but I couldn't figure it out. Ning Shu said honestly. The exterior is also stabilized by connecting the spatial nodes. It's like tying a rope to something. This thing will be stable and won't run around. Oh! Ning Shu suddenly understood and started to build spatial nodes around her. Ning Shu said to Elder Qian, Elder Qian, I'm done. Elder Qian, what an idiot with no ideas of her own. However, being able to figure out spatial nodes was better than not being able to enter a spatial door. However, this girl really had no talent in this area. It was fine if she could use spatial laws, but she definitely could not play around with them. She could not understand more of the mysteries of space. After all, space and time were high-level laws. Elder Qian said, Go in and see if the spatial passage you built is stable. Ning Shu nodded. Then she lifted her skirt and bent down to walk into the spatial passage. She bounced around and was actually very stable. Ning Shu walked from one end of the passage to the other. The spatial passage was very stable. Ning Shu removed the spatial passage and focused on building the passage. When she opened her eyes, she found that she had built a very long spatial passage. And it was not very tiring. Ning Shu was excited. She could finally build a stable spatial passage. Ning Shu immediately thanked Elder Qian. Thank you, Elder Qian. Thank you. Elder Qian nodded elegantly. By another spatial passage. Ning Shu, seeing Elder Qian's serious expression, Ning Shu could not help but ask, Elder Qian, is your business not good recently? How can my business not be good? It has never been bad. Elder Qian looked at Ning Shu expressionlessly. Ning Shu had no choice but to buy another spatial passage. It was still a passage to find soul crystals. This one was cheaper, so Ning Shu could only buy this one. After chatting with Elder Qian for a while, Elder Qian came for business. Ning Shu said goodbye and left. She wanted to go back and strengthen the spatial passage between the 4th level of 9 Palace Mountain and the world of Samsara. Chapter 3003. When she built the space passage, she only stabilized the inside but not the outside. This was a hidden danger that had to be solved. If she didn't reinforce it, the passage might not last long. She might have to rebuild it if it collapsed. Ning Shu came to the world of Samsara and reinforced the space passage. Indeed, the seniors had more experience and were more practical. He had been comprehending for so long, but he still couldn't figure it out. Ning Shu felt that he was really stupid in this aspect. He had no talent. He reinforced the spatial passageway several times before he finally gave up. Ning Shu hoped that the spatial passageway could last a little longer. Ning Shu did not want to spend her free time reinforcing the spatial passageway. Ning Shu entered the third level mainly because she wanted to see if there was any faith power on the third level, or if there was any pure faith power. As time passed, there would be less and less pure power of faith. There would be less and less people who believed in her. Even the faith wouldn't be pure anymore. It was no longer pure faith. It wasn't power anymore. As soon as he entered the third level, he saw that the whole world was about to become a vast ocean. The ocean flooded many places. The animals ran to higher places in a panic. But those who were slow were directly submerged by the monstrous flood. Ning Shu was a little surprised. What was this world doing? Was it going to wipe out all the creatures in this world? It was impossible to wipe them out. After all, the creatures living in the water wouldn't be affected. Was it going to wipe out the creatures on the land and then start to develop new creatures? Everything that happened in the world could be said to be controlled by the heavenly axiom. It was like a country that would be controlled. This control could be good or bad. Generally speaking, the control of the heavenly axiom rarely went wrong. If it was really easy to go wrong, then there was a problem with the heavenly axiom. The creatures in this world were all foreign. Ning Shu guessed that the heavenly axiom might not be able to accommodate these creatures. That was why there was such a control. If the heavenly axiom wanted people to die, how could they not die? When people died and entered the world of samsara, they would be reborn. But there was no creature that wasn't afraid of death. Creatures didn't know that they could be reborn. Even if they were reborn, they wouldn't be themselves anymore. They wouldn't be the same person. From a macroscopic point of view, the definition of an individual was not important. What was important was the balance between generations. Therefore, Ning Shu did not understand what was going on in this world. His ears were filled with the prayers of the savages, the cries of blood. The language that she could not understand was filled with fear and pleading. Ning Shu blocked out these prayers as they were really messing with her thoughts. Ning Shu planned to communicate with the heavenly Tao of this world to understand if the regulation had gone out of control or if this was a situation that the heavenly Tao was happy to see. Ning Shu casually plucked 2 leaves and formed a seal with both hands, using the leaves for divination. However, the leaf was annihilated by an unknown force and disappeared. Ning Shu didn't even see the results of the divination. What was the meaning of this situation? He didn't even say anything. He tried to communicate with you, but you snorted and turned your head to the side. Can't we talk nicely? Ning Shu nodded with his finger, and the raging waves instantly froze into ice, freezing the seawater. Ning Shu plucked 2 more leaves and began to communicate with the heavens through divination. This time, the leaves did not suddenly disappear. Ning Shu asked questions in his heart and obtained information from the divination. In any case, the divination said that the burden of the world was about to be reduced, which was why such a thing happened. The result of regulation was that it could not accommodate so many living beings, especially since this world was not a complete world. However, it seemed that the entire world was about to be drowned. Now, many living beings had drowned. Ning Shu scattered the leaves and asked if the heavenly Tao was almost done. If this continued, the entire world would be drowned. The leaves did not respond. Ning Shu tapped with his finger, and the frozen seawater thawed and calmed down. At a glance, 3/4 of the world was ocean. The storm had stopped. Ning Shu felt that if he did not come, the entire world would be drowned. It seemed that the heavenly Tao really did not like these creatures. It might as well drown them and evolve again. From sea creatures to land. Wasn't there a saying that humans were transformed from fish? Many creatures evolved from the ocean. Clearly, this world had such a plan. It overturned everything and evolved again. It felt that the heavenly Tao of this world had a bad temper and was quite unhappy with these foreign creatures. Ning Shu held the leaves for divination, but the leaves did not react. Ning Shu stopped divining. Foreign creatures meant trouble to the heavenly Tao. It was like a species invasion. Either they could not survive, or they were so arrogant that no one could deal with them. Ning Shu scooped up a few strands of pure faith power. Looking at these strands of pure faith power, she communicated with the heavenly Tao. Even the heavenly Tao had to leave a little chance of survival for living beings. The heavenly Tao was still unable to do something like exterminating all of them. Therefore, the leaves did not react after that. It was a tacit approval of Ning Shu's actions. Of course, Ning Shu did not evaporate the water. Since the seawater had already drowned many places, it was fine to start again. When the land area was small, living beings would develop in the direction of the ocean. When the land area gradually increased, living beings would start to develop in the direction of the land again. Ning Shu felt that living beings really had a shocking adaptability. Of course, those who did not adapt would also be eliminated. The chanting in his ears was mixed with joy. The joy of surviving, and there were more threads of faith power. Ning Shu rolled up these threads of faith and put them away. The disaster beasts in the world of samsara needed to be destroyed by the power of faith. Living beings needed pure faith to destroy the evil things produced by the evil thoughts and filth of living beings. Ning Shu used the leaves for divination to thank the heavenly Tao. In any case, there were still some living beings left in this world. Those who drowned in the sea entered the world of samsara and could be reborn. Ning Shu did not communicate with the heavenly Tao of other worlds, but this heavenly Tao gave Ning Shu a feeling that it had a temper. In the beginning, it refused to communicate. After resolving this matter, Ning Shu threw away the leaves in his hands. The leaves floated on the surface of the sea and finally sank. The prayers were still ringing in his ears. Ning Shu thought that if there was really a God listening to the prayers of believers every day, all kinds of trivial things, all kinds of things, and all kinds of things. Even if it was a God, it would probably explode. Ning Shu felt that his ears were full of buzzing sounds, like annoying flies. Moreover, this kind of chanting cadence was completely incomprehensible. This was very annoying. He could only feel the mood of the chanter slightly. /BK. Chapter 3004. Sadness, fear, joy, respect. Ning Shu could vaguely sense these emotions, but the singing was too unpleasant. He could understand why they could treat their roars as songs. Ning Shu left the third level. Luckily he came. If not, he might be stunned the next time he came. The world was a sea with no end in sight. After entering the fourth level with the space tunnel, there shouldn't be any more strange creatures like the beastmen. Ning Shu entered the world. Before she even entered the city, she discovered that many humans were fleeing the city as if they were fleeing for their lives. Their faces were filled with panic. Ning Shu was speechless. Why was it different from the peaceful world that she imagined? Did a war break out? And the ones fleeing were all humans. Were the beastmen extinct? Ning Shu grabbed a girl's arm and asked, "What happened?" The girl was terrified. The beastmen want to capture humans. They want to capture humans. Ning Shu wanted to ask more, but the girl had already flung his hand away. She ran very quickly. The men and women were terrified. Not long after, a group of dog-headed people chased after them on horses. They wanted to capture the fleeing humans. They saw Ning Shu standing there, dressed in white. He looked very clean and handsome. The dog-headed people were excited. They barked and surrounded Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at the dog-headed people. The beastmen hadn't gone extinct yet. Instead, they felt like they were bullying the humans. In the past, the humans looked down on the beastmen. They were stupid and had short lives. But now, the humans were being chased by the beastmen. This is good-looking, a dog-headed person stammered when he saw Ning Shu. But in the next second, someone hit his head. Stupid. So skinny. No chest or butt. You can't give birth. What's the use of being good-looking? Ning Shu looked at the dog-headed person expressionlessly. Do you believe that I won't smash your head? You don't know how to talk. You guys continue chasing the humans. I'll take this person into the city, a dog-headed person said righteously. The other companions were unwilling. They knew that he wanted to give this good-looking human to the masked man for a reward. They still wanted to chase the human. No way. Immediately, a kobold said, "No, I can take this human to the city. You know how to please C, and so do we. Offering beautiful humans will definitely make C happy and give them benefits." As for the escaping humans, it was a piece of cake. Ning Shu watched helplessly as the kobolds started arguing with each other. They wanted nothing more than to bite each other with their mouths, and they started barking. She just wanted to know what the hell was going on. Ning Shu stretched out his vines and dragged a kobold away. The other kobolds were still desperately biting each other, and they did not notice that the human woman had disappeared. The kobold that was tied up by Ning Shu trembled and stuck out its tongue. However, its eyes were filled with anticipation, as if it was waiting for Ning Shu to ravage it. Ning Shu was speechless. Why did she feel like she had become a pervert? Looking at the dog's head, she couldn't bear to eat it. Ning Shu asked the kobold, "Why did you capture humans?" Logically speaking, with the space tunnel for souls to enter the world of reincarnation, the number of orcs would decrease. However, humans would not. Why were they being bullied? Why capture humans? Why don't you ask why they escaped? The kobold snorted. Anyway, I'm in your hands. You can do whatever you want to me. But you're a barren human woman. It's useless. Hee hee. Ning Shu almost laughed out of anger. He whipped it with his vines. You're dishonest, aren't you? The kobold howled in pain after being whipped by Ning Shu. Ning Shu whipped it a few more times. Who asked you to say that I have no buttocks and no breasts? Can you talk properly now? Answer my questions. The kobold's eyes were filled with tears. Seeing Ning Shu's stern gaze, it immediately nodded while whimpering. Why did you capture humans? It was not that Ning Shu was siding with anyone, but the current situation really confused Ning Shu. To give birth to babies, the kobold said. What does giving birth have to do with humans? Ning Shu could not figure it out. The kobold asked in surprise, Are you from the countryside? You don't know? Ning Shu grunted, and the dog-headed man immediately told her what he knew. Ning Shu's expression became more and more subtle as she listened. In the end, she was completely shocked. She looked at the kobold with a complicated expression. She suddenly realized that orcs were still humans in essence. That was to say, the orcs' fertility suddenly disappeared. It was not that it disappeared, but the orcs, who had always been proud of their population, suddenly stopped having babies. Originally, the orcs' lifespan was relatively short. Some orcs could not even give birth to a child until they died. For example, the best orcs could give birth to a few babies in a litter. They could give birth to a few batches of babies in a year. However, the orcs' fertility suddenly decreased. The population of the orc empire plummeted like a precipice, directly dropping to the bottom. The orcs were not as smart as humans, and they did not live as long as humans. Their only advantage was that they had a lot of people. Being able to give birth, they could crush humans with numbers. Humans gave birth to one or a few babies in a lifetime. The gestation time was still long. How could there be any orcs? The orcs could slightly compete with humans because they had a lot of people. If they could not win one-on-one, they could win 2-on-1 or 3-on-1. Orcs did not have intelligence, but their physique was completely superior to humans. Why did the population suddenly plummet? If this continued, the orcs would go extinct. Ning Shu understood the reason. They did not need the orcs as a transit point. The orcs would definitely disappear, but the rulers and the orcs did not know. He didn't know which higher-up had a wild imagination. Since beastmen and beastmen couldn't have children, then humans and beastmen could definitely have children after doing that. Then, the human men and women of childbearing age would suffer. They would be captured to have sex with the orcs and give birth to babies. The orcs were half human and half beast. Then, the babies would definitely be orcs. Perfect tick. Ning Shu face-bombed. Did they not know how to fix the hole in their brain? Did they not know that there was something called reproductive isolation? It was too scary. If there was no such thing, then the whole world would be filled with monsters. Once this policy was implemented, it seemed to become a carnival for the orcs. However, the humans were in a terrible state. The men wanted to have sex with the female orcs. The women were even more unlucky. They were almost raped by the orcs, making them pregnant. That was really a breakdown of etiquette. There was sex everywhere. /BK. Chapter 3005. These orcs had the heads of animals and were forced to have sex with such people. One could imagine how they felt. In the past, orcs were despised by humans. They suddenly let go of themselves and grabbed a human on the street and started having sex with her. It was said that they were contributing to the empire's population. It was also quite satisfying to bully the humans who despised them. In this situation, there were also people giving birth. Orc females and human females were pregnant and had children. But the children born were really deformed. They either grew thick hair or had ferocious facial features. They died not long after birth. More died in the womb. Not long after pregnancy, the fetus died in the womb. The deformed children were not aborted, they were born monsters. Orcs were already very strange, but these children were even more strange. There were all kinds of deformities, and even their hands and feet were connected. The humans in the city were devastated. They were forced to have sex and to have children. They tried their best to escape. All the signs showed that this was a bad move. The extinction of the orcs was close at hand. And humans were a species that held grudges. They were indifferent to being treated like this by the orcs. Sure enough, if the heavens wanted people to die, they would first make them crazy. This was simply a stroke of genius. Using sex to solve the population problem. Ning Shu was about to kneel down to the upper echelons of the Orc Empire. You are light, you are electricity, you are the only legend. There was probably no other way. They were so anxious that they had an idea. A light flashed through their minds, and then this idea appeared. But this would offend the humans and speed up the process of extinction. Ning Shu suddenly sympathized with the orcs. This was completely courting death. Originally, the orcs were going to disappear. With this, they would disappear even faster. Originally, the heavens wanted the orcs to disappear. But all the orcs seemed to be immersed in doomsday revelry. They were especially free. Those simple-minded orcs were gone, and the unrestrained nature of the humans in their bodies was exposed. His hidden evil had been exposed. Those deformed, dead, and stillborn children were directly ignored. More orcs believed that they could reproduce with humans. Ning Shu was speechless for a long time. Although his worldview was on the verge of collapse, Ning Shu felt that he was experienced and knowledgeable. He would not be shocked by such a small thing. Perhaps in the near future, the humans would attack the beastmen and massacre them. Once these beastmen died, their souls would enter the world of samsara to be reborn. In their next life, they would no longer be beastmen. Humans would be humans and animals would be animals. They would no longer have the body of a human and the head of an animal. Let me go, let me go. The dog-headed man struggled, looking at Ning Shu with eyes full of lust. Ning Shu felt that these guards must have raped many women. She had originally come here to stroll around and see how the world was like. She didn't expect to be able to broaden her horizons like this. He couldn't even be bothered to enter the city. If he did, he didn't know what kind of eye-piercing things he would see. Ning Shu directly destroyed the thing 3 inches below the kobold's navel. How dare he tease her? He even said that she didn't have breasts or buttocks. The kobold fainted from the pain, and Ning Shu wanted to leave this world. This was a war between the humans and the orcs, and she didn't want to get involved. Ning Shu suddenly felt very good. He wanted to see which orc had come up with such a great idea. It was so elegant and refined. Although he didn't want to get involved in the matters of this world, Ning Shu still wanted to walk around and see if there were any treasures. At the very least, there should be a world's origin. She even found a metal-type world's origin on the 2nd level. However, Ning Shu realized that this world had suddenly become a world filled with the smell of meat. As long as there were orcs, there would be that. Sometimes, this kind of scene really challenged one's worldview. Especially the animal head, it was as if it was doing that with the animal. She could encounter such things in the wild. Ning Shu felt that he needed to wash his eyes. Save me, save me, save me. Ning Shu stood on the branch of a tree. Under the tree, there was an erotic scene. It was a snake-headed man pressing down on a woman and spitting out his snake tongue. It gave people goosebumps. Ning Shu felt that pig-headed men and dog-headed men weren't that repulsive. It was this snake-headed man that really made people uncomfortable. When the woman saw Ning Shu under the tree, her eyes lit up. Ning Shu cried for help. Save me, please save me. This was a snake-headed man. He was vicious and vicious. He didn't have sex to give birth. After sex, he would bite the woman to death. If he met other orcs, he might be able to survive. But if he met a snake-headed man, he wouldn't even be able to survive. Feeling the abnormality of the woman under him, the snake-headed man turned his head. When he saw Ning Shu under the tree, he immediately spat out his snake tongue and said, "A beautiful human woman has come." Ning Shu smiled and floated down from the tree with an umbrella. The snake-headed man bared his fangs and quickly rushed over to bite Ning Shu. His poison could make living creatures feel sore and weak all over. They would lose their strength and be at the mercy of others. This woman was very beautiful. It must be very comfortable to press such a woman under him. One look and one could tell that she was the daughter of a rich family. Even if they raped such a woman, they wouldn't dare to speak out. Without chastity, they would be abandoned by their family. They would either be killed to avoid insulting their family's reputation. After living with humans for a long time, the snake-headed men were very clear about the hypocrisy of humans. Even if the Empire hadn't implemented the practice of copulating with humans, the snake-headed men would still secretly find human women to copulate with. Snakes were lustful by nature. Moreover, only human women fit the snake's aesthetic standards. They were beautiful, had soft skin, gentle facial features, and a pleasant voice. But pressing down on a dog-headed man, pig-headed man, or lion-head man was much more comfortable. The snake-headed man Ning Shu rushed over but was bounced back by an invisible barrier. With a bang, he crashed into the barrier and almost fainted. Ning Shu stretched out his vines and directly pierced through the snake-headed man's body. His heart was pierced into minced meat. He fell to the ground and twitched. After a while, he stopped breathing. The woman looked at Ning Shu in shock. She hurriedly picked up her clothes and thanked Ning Shu. Then, she covered her face and cried loudly. Ning Shu didn't know how to comfort her. He stood to the side and didn't say anything. The woman sobbed and sobbed. After venting her anger, she wiped the tears from her face and knelt in front of Ning Shu. "Sir, please accept me as your servant. I can do anything." Ning Shu looked at her clothes. They were coarse hemp clothes. He could tell at a glance that she was the daughter of a poor family. Ning Shu didn't need a servant. Moreover, she hadn't stayed in this world for long. Ning Shu directly said, "I don't need a servant. You can go home." Saving people was just a matter of convenience. /BK. Chapter 3006. Ning Shu didn't want to be responsible for someone else's life after saving them once. On the phone, when the woman heard Ning Shu's rejection, her expression became even more desperate. Even her body couldn't help but tremble. "My lord, please accept me. I really can do anything. Let me follow you and be your slave." Ning Shu was helpless. He squatted down and patted the grass on her shoulder. "I don't need you to be my slave. Go home." She had nothing to do but let this girl do it. To be honest, this girl couldn't be her maid. She didn't have any strength. She didn't need someone to do laundry and cook. Thinking that this girl had just encountered something terrible, Ning Shu was still very pleasant to her. She was forced. After the deed was done, she might be killed by the snake-headed people. The woman cried uncontrollably. She was desperate. She muttered to herself, "I can't go home. I'll be killed if I go home. I'm scared." "You can't go home." Ning Shu rubbed his forehead and asked, "Why can't you go home? Tidy yourself up and go home." Even if she was forced, no one would know. Live a good life. The woman shook her head in panic. "Answer. I'll be killed if I go back. Because I've been defiled by the beastmen, I'll be pregnant with monsters. Any woman defiled by the beastmen will be executed by the village chief, and parents. A woman defiled by a beast doesn't deserve to live in this world." Ning Shu was speechless. It was the chains of Joan of Arc again. Although the beastmen were destined to be destroyed, in this destruction, women were also victims. Perhaps the product of human and beastmen's intercourse was too shocking. Humans were afraid of the birth of monsters. Executing the defiled woman at the source was the most effective way. Men were the ones who vented, and women were the ones who accepted. Therefore, Defiled women were considered dirty. Ning Shu asked, "Then will the man who was forced to have intercourse with the beast men be executed?" The woman's eyes were hazy with tears. "Men won't get pregnant. They won't be executed. So, it was a woman's fault for giving birth." Ning Shu said, "It's not so easy to get pregnant. Don't worry, you won't get pregnant." She had interrupted the process of masturbation midway, and there was also reproductive isolation. It was not that easy to get pregnant. The woman shook her head, her expression twisted. "Even if I'm not pregnant, I will still be executed. I won't be able to return." She saw some girls from the same village being executed with her own eyes. When her parents saw their daughters being raped by the beastmen, it was as if they had seen a monster. They wanted to burn them quickly. She didn't want to be burned alive. It was too terrifying. That mournful voice lingered in her mind. She would rather commit suicide than go back. Ning Shu was puzzled. If you don't say it, who would know that you've been defiled? Just treat it as if you've been bitten by a dog. Why don't you go somewhere else? The woman sobbed and said, "They will use hunting dogs to sniff out women's bodies. They can smell strange odors and are usually accurate." Ning Shu was speechless. What a perverted method. Using a hunting dog to sniff a girl's breasts. If there was a gynecological disease or a strange smell, wouldn't it be a waste? After being tainted by the beastmen, the smell of the beastmen will remain. This smell won't dissipate in a short period of time. It can't be washed away. "Sir, please take me away. I will be killed." Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck. Previously, he felt that his worldview was slightly shaken. Now it directly collapsed. The beastmen were wild, and the madness of humans was not inferior. However, this madness and ignorance pressured the woman. Ning Shu asked, "Are all the women who have been defiled like this?" "I don't know, but the place where I live is like this. Once I'm defiled by the beastmen, I must be executed. Sir, I can really do anything. Please take me in." Ning Shu gathered her clothes and said, "There's a small stream over there. Go wash up. I'll take you along." "Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you." The woman kowtowed to Ning Shu and then stumbled to wash up. Ning Shu sighed and stood there waiting for her. The woman was afraid that Ning Shu would leave, so she hurriedly washed up and ran back. Seeing that Ning Shu hadn't left, she heaved a sigh of relief. "Sir, I'll hold the umbrella for you." The woman endured the pain in her body and said to Ning Shu, "There's no need. Just follow me." Ning Shu walked slowly. She followed behind her step by step. Her walking posture was a little weird. She must have just broken a melon and it must be very painful. Ning Shu stopped. The woman also hurriedly stood up and asked, "Sir, is there anything else?" Ning Shu said, "Sit down. Let's rest for a while. What's your name?" "Sir, my name is Xiaoyu. My village is not far from here." Xiaoyu said tremblingly. Ning Shu nodded. "I'll teach you a set of cultivation methods. You can cultivate and have some ability to protect yourself." "Thank you, sir." Xiaoyu immediately knelt down. Ning Shu taught Xiaoyu peerless martial arts. Peerless martial arts didn't care about one's foundation. Moreover, it could provide faith for peerless martial arts. It was killing many birds with one stone. Ning Shu taught Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. Ning Shu also set up a spirit gathering array to gather the surrounding spirit energy. Xiaoyu didn't know anything about cultivation. She had to start from the most basic understanding. She didn't dare to ask Ning Shu. Her progress was slow, but at least she could draw qi. For such a desperate person to be saved, her faith should be strong. Since she had already been saved, she might as well save her to the end. Although she escaped this time, she might not be able to save her next time. When she had strength, others couldn't hurt her. Xiaoyu's meridians were small, and her water pipes were small. There wasn't much water flowing. Her cultivation was also at an average level. However, if she used others' secret manuals, she definitely wouldn't even be able to enter the door. When they arrived at the town, Ning Shu bought her a sword for self-defense. Xiaoyu was once again grateful. Even the wind blowing in the town had a perverted smell. As long as there were beastmen, there would be this smell. Xia Yu saw beastmen defiling women on the street. She was so angry that she wanted to cut the beastmen with her sword. However, she was afraid of causing trouble for Sir. The woman's scream made Xia Yu very afraid. Her entire body trembled. Ning Shu said, "If you want to save her, then save her." "Sir, I'm not strong enough. Will I cause trouble for you?" Xia Yu hesitated. Some beastmen had already surrounded them. They stared at Ning Shu and Xia Yu and were about to pounce on them in the next second. The current beastmen might have released their bestial nature. They were different from the stupid beastmen from before. Xia Yu's body was trembling. She stood in front of Ning Shu and said, "Sir, you go first." These beastmen weren't very strong. It could be said that they didn't have any strength. Their physiques just looked stronger. "You go. Let me see your strength." Ning Shu didn't want to move at all. /BK. Chapter 3007. Ning Shu and Xia Yu were surrounded. In this situation, the two women were just food. It would be strange if these orcs didn't attack. Perhaps he would be able to impregnate a human woman and give birth to a child. The child would be a great contributor to the empire and would be rewarded with delicious food and a comfortable house. Now that there was a problem with the orc population, whoever saved the population of the empire would be the hero of the empire. Give me a girl and I can save the empire. The two weak women appeared in front of them and their mission as citizens of the empire flashed in their minds. Get them pregnant, get them pregnant. Xia Yu was so scared that she trembled, especially after being defiled by the orcs. Now that she saw these orcs, she felt fear instinctively. She trembled so much that she almost couldn't hold her sword. She blocked in front of Ning Shu and almost cried. Xia Yu said to Ning Shu, "Sir, leave quickly, leave quickly." There were a few orcs. Ning Shu didn't want to attack such weak scum at all. He said to Xia Yu, "Your chance to take revenge is here. You can kill these orcs who defiled you with your own hands." "I don't dare," Xia Yu shouted in her heart. She had never fought with anyone before, let alone a tall and strong beastman. The way he looked at them was green and full of desire, making Xia Yu flustered. She didn't think of killing these orcs at all. And Xia Yu didn't dare to kill people. Ning Shu just said, "If you don't kill them, we will all be defiled. They won't let us go." A orc laughed, but his pig head looked as ugly as it could be. If one was pressed under his body, one would feel like they were being raped by a pig. It couldn't be worse. The orc was probably the ugliest orc, second to none. "Don't be so resistant. We will make you happy. We won't hurt you. We just want you to give birth to children." The orc patted his chest and looked righteous. There was no one else. He felt that this policy and reward had released the evil in the orcs' hearts. Everything could be attributed to the empire. They glorified what they did. Yes, it was righteous and right. Then, he could do these things with a clear conscience without any psychological burden. He reckoned that the person who came up with this idea must be a human spy, so this orc would offend more and more people. Even if they realized that this policy and idea were wrong, things were already like a wild dog that was out of control. There was no turning back. According to the stupid minds of the beastmen, they had already engraved something in their minds. Moreover, this kind of thing would give them the pleasure of abusing others. It would make them feel happy, and it could never be corrected. The orc was adamant that this was right. Xia Yu was so angry at the beastman's shameless words that her eyes were bloodshot. "Why should I let you defile me? Why should I give birth to your child? Have you asked for my opinion? Using violence to force weak women to give birth to children. The children she gave birth to were either deformed or stillborn. There were even constant miscarriages. These violent beastmen would never know the extent of the damage to their bodies." Ning Shu pushed Xia Yu from behind. Xia Yu was holding a sword in her hand. After being pushed by Ning Shu, her body uncontrollably moved forward. The sword in her hand was caught off guard and directly pierced into the orc's stomach. The sword was extremely sharp and pierced through the orc. She killed someone. Xia Yu's mind was in a mess. She was completely stunned. The killed orc clutched his stomach and tried to stop the blood in fear. However, the blood flowed through the gaps between his fingers and dripped onto the ground. The ground was covered in blood. The fishy smell of blood made Xiaoyu vomit. Xiaoyu started vomiting. The other orcs were stimulated by the blood. One by one, they raised their fists and smashed them towards Xiaoyu and Ningshu. They even roared, their faces ferocious. Ningshu directly used his spiritual power to pierce through their hearts. His spiritual power was like a palm, directly crushing their hearts. Their hearts instantly turned into minced meat. The orcs were stunned. Their expressions froze and they fell to the ground. With a plop, dust flew up. Ningshu originally wanted to attack the orc's spiritual ball and directly let it shatter. However, without the spiritual ball, the soul was also ignorant. Without the spiritual ball, it could only become a worm in its next life. Hence, he directly attacked the physical body to kill the orcs and not the soul. Sometimes, Ningshu felt that the orcs were pitiful. After all, they were the transit station for humans to reincarnate. They were neither humans nor animals. Their position was awkward. However, they were quite good at seeking death. There were not many people who could kill themselves because of their stupidity. To die under a peony flower, let's see if you can become a romantic ghost or not. The death of the orcs made the girls who had been defiled cry uncontrollably. They didn't know if they were happy or sad. Some of the girls hurriedly covered their bodies. Previously, they didn't care about living a life worse than death. After all, if they wore clothes, the orcs would tear them apart. Now that the orcs were dead, some hope appeared in their hearts. They tried their best to cover their bodies. Trembling, they kowtowed to Ningshu to thank him. These girls had some marks on their bodies. They were green and purple and looked especially scary. Orcs were born with great strength. If it was a female orc, it was still okay. There wasn't such a big difference in physique. However, it was different for human females. They were already weak and had to be pampered at home. They weren't allowed to go out. If they went out, their reputation would be ruined. With such a physique, how could they not be tortured to death by the orcs? Not to mention having children. Sometimes they were even raped. How could they bear it? They used the excuse of increasing the population to do lewd things. Xiaoyu was almost done vomiting. When she saw these girls, she felt the same way. However, she didn't dare to speak and could only remain silent. Ningshu didn't know if these girls were going to be killed by their clansmen and families. He said, "Okay, you guys go first. Find a place to hide." The 5 kneeling girls didn't move. They crawled on the ground and shivered. Ningshu had a headache and asked, "Does your family want to kill you too?" "Sir, we were defiled by the orcs. We can't live anymore. No matter where we go, we will be killed. The Empire will concentrate on executing the girls defiled by the orcs." Women defiled by orcs were even more unbearable than being defiled by humans. Orcs had always been looked down upon by humans. They were just beasts who could talk and had grown human bodies. Women defiled by beasts were disgusting. Moreover, no man would marry a woman defiled by an orc. It was too disgusting. Ningshu was speechless. Damn. Ningshu's eyebrows twitched. If women were executed on a large scale, you guys would benefit. By then, the population would wither. If you weren't pure yourself, you wanted others to be pure. What was the reason? You didn't have power. Chapter 3008. Without strength, they couldn't resist harm, and they couldn't even fight for the right to live. Could it be that they had to rely on others' charity to let them live and beg others' kindness to spare their lives? But that was impossible. Now, the obviously impure women didn't even have the right to live. These people had already encountered misfortune, and they still had to accept the malice from their own kind. Ningshu felt really annoyed. They were all humans. The men and women could be executed together, but the men who had sex with the orcs wouldn't be executed. Only the women who were the recipients were impure. And now, they were killed just like that. There wasn't even a place to complain. If they complained, others would only say that they had been defiled and no longer had chastity, so they should die. They still had the nerve to live and complain with great fanfare. It was good enough that they didn't say that they shamelessly seduced the orcs. They still had the nerve to fight for rights. Ningshu had an idea. Since these people couldn't live, he would find a place for these women to live. The world was difficult to begin with. Let these hurt women gather together to warm themselves. Since they were both victims, there was no question of who was discriminating against who. Women were hurt not only by men, but also by women. Men competed with men for resources, and women competed with women for resources. Now that he thought about it, it was normal to attack and hurt each other. In essence, it was about benefits. Women whose reputations were damaged or defiled were forced to withdraw from the battlefield of fighting for a spouse, or they found a bad spouse. Even they themselves thought that they didn't deserve a better spouse because a good spouse wouldn't like them. It was a market for picking and choosing. Ning Shu said to Xia Yu, "Buy clothes for them and follow me. You teach them how to cultivate." "Yes." Xia Yu picked up the sword on the ground. It was covered in scarlet blood. Ning Shu said, "No matter what the situation is in the future, don't let your sword leave your hand. Only the sword can fight for you. If you throw your sword away, how can you fight?" Xia Yu will remember. Xia Yu wiped the blood off the sword. "Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir." These women knelt on the ground and cried loudly. Ning Shu didn't comfort them. Anything he said now was very pale. Since he had met her, he might as well set up an organization for self-grooming girls. Self-combing women were ancient women who didn't want to get married. They tied their hair into a woman's bun. Self-combing women were probably ancient feminists. Especially after the transition from feudal society to the industrial era, some women had jobs that could support themselves. For example, they did not need to rely on men to survive and chose to comb their own hair. When the time came, he would find a secluded place to give those desperate women a way to survive. Women who had been abandoned, defiled, or even abandoned since they were young would have a place to stay. If he passed down the peerless martial arts, he might be able to increase the power of faith. As for how the organization would develop in the future, Ning Shu would not control it. He did not know if there would be extreme women like Abbess Miju. Perhaps there would be women who longed for love. In short, nothing could last forever. But now, there was such an organization that was able to survive the massacre of women. The population of other beastmen was growing very slowly, and they couldn't even give birth to children. However, there were still many beastmen alive. If every beastman defiled a woman, then there would probably not be many women in this world who could survive. After they solved the problem of the beastmen, they turned around and saw that most of the women had been killed. Hee, if you want to marry a wife in the future, you can keep dreaming. No matter how much money you spend, you won't be able to get a wife. The town was not small. The commotion here quickly attracted more beastmen. Who killed the brave warriors of the great empire? The leader of the beastmen saw that his subordinates had been killed and immediately questioned Ning Shu. Ning Shu was dressed in white. Under the sunlight, he emitted a halo. He was as eye-catching as an incandescent lamp. The beastman pointed at him. "Did you kill them?" When the women saw the beastmen coming, they panicked and hid behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. "I said it. They wanted to defile me, so I killed them." "How dare you? Just because they wanted to have children with you, you killed them." The beastman was shocked. He looked at Ning Shu as if he was looking at a homicidal maniac. Ning Shu was speechless. How could they communicate with different views? The beastmen and humans had completely different views. To them, this was completely the right and just thing, but you killed the people who were doing the right thing. Ning Shu said, "I don't feel good. I don't like it. I don't want to. I think they were hurting me. Why can't I kill them?" Forget it. It was a complete waste of time to talk to the one-track-minded beastmen. Xia Yu came back with some clothes. When she saw the beastmen, she stuffed the clothes into the arms of a woman. She pulled out her sword and stood in front of Ning Shu. She looked at the beastmen warily. "Sir, should we kill them all? If we let them go, they will go and defile other women." Xia Yu's hand trembled. In the end, she held the sword tightly. In the town, who knows how many people were defiled by them? Then the women were executed by their families. Xia Yu gritted her teeth and said, "These people are too despicable." Ning Shu looked at Xia Yu and felt that Xia Yu might become Abbess Miju in the future. She hated because she was weak. When she was strong, even men would have to bow to her because she could control their lives. You could be kind, but you had to let your kindness have some strength. Kindness without strength was nothing. If you couldn't even protect yourself, how could you be kind? If you want to kill him, then kill him. Ning Shu said flatly. There was no right or wrong in the battle for survival. Xia Yu gritted her teeth and rushed towards the beastmen with her sword. The beastmen laughed. They didn't think that a thin and weak human woman would cause any harm to them. Even if she had a sword in her hand, those swords were like children holding toothpicks. They didn't have any power at all. The beastmen also pulled out their swords. The swords they held were relatively large. They could be considered giant swords. When they waved them, they had a lot of power. Xia Yu was more agile. She shuttled between the beastmen and added more wounds to their bodies. Ning Shu watched from the side. The woman behind him changed her clothes and looked at Xia Yu worriedly. If anything happened to Xia Yu, they would also suffer. The beastmen wouldn't let them go. When the beastmen were cruel, they could directly tear people in half. Xia Yu was panting, but she didn't kill a single beastman. Ning Shu didn't want to be entangled here. They didn't find the treasure. Instead, they had so many tales. Chapter 3009. She should find a place to live in seclusion as soon as possible and settle these people down. As for their future life, she couldn't care less. She didn't care about eating, drinking, defecating, and sleeping. If she had to care about all these, she would be exhausted. She had a lot of things to do. Ning Shu directly crushed the orc's heart with his spiritual power, and the orc fell to the ground with a puff. Xia Yu was a little stunned. She wasn't that powerful. She immediately understood that it was the Lord who did it. Ning Shu said, "Take the money from these orcs and buy some food and necessities. Let's go quickly." Yes. Xia Yu immediately fumbled around the orc's waist and searched for the money bag. If the orcs in the past lived a bitter life, working as coolies and being discriminated against without money, now the orcs had completely turned over and were the masters. They would break into the house and rob the finances. Whether the woman had a husband or not, she would be pulled over to have sex with him. If the husband resisted, the orcs would make him lose the ability to move or hand him over to a female orc and let her have sex with him. If he resisted, he would be killed. Generally speaking, when the wife encountered such a thing, the husband would run away as soon as possible. If he couldn't beat the orcs, he would be courting death. The orcs were richer now. You guys go and search too. What are you waiting for? Ning Shu said to the woman standing behind him. Since it was a big group, they had to contribute their strength. Were they going to wait for others to save them? Yes. Although the woman was afraid of the orcs, she was more afraid that Ning Shu didn't care about them now. Ning Shu didn't dare to resist no matter what he said. After taking all the money from the orcs, Ning Shu asked Xia Yu to buy some jerky, pancakes, and food suitable for carrying. Now they had to start looking for a place to live in seclusion. If it was an easy place to find, those who hated impurity would definitely find it. Find a paradise for these women to live in. As for reproduction, when survival became a problem, don't think about reproduction. Xia Yu seriously completed the task assigned by Ning Shu. She treated Ning Shu as her master and did whatever her master said. There were many followers behind him. In a town, some were willing to follow Ning Shu, and some were unwilling. They might not die if they stayed, but if they followed Ning Shu, their future was uncertain. The woman was in a dilemma. Ning Shu wouldn't persuade others to follow him. If a person didn't even dare to take the step, he would have to save them a second time. Ning Shu wasn't willing to take these people with him. He wanted to nurture a small group of people so that they could expand the team. The journey was so slow that Ning Shu felt irritated. If it weren't for these people, she would have flown long ago. Perhaps she would have already circled half the world. Stop and rest. Eat something. Xia Yu, pass the secret manual to them, Ning Shu said to Xia Yu. Yes. Xia Yu took out some biscuits from her bag and got some water from the stream to share with everyone. The girls wolfed down the food. The youngest one was about 13 or 14 years old. Well, according to the modern law, a young girl would be sentenced to 3 years in prison. The older ones were in their 30s, but most of them were in their 20s. This was the peak period for women to give birth. After eating, Xia Yu exchanged names with these women and said, "I was also defiled by the beastman. It was Sir who saved me and taught me how to cultivate. Now, Sir wants to pass the secret manual to you." "Thank you, Sir, for your kindness." The woman knelt down and kowtowed. Ning Shu just nodded elegantly and coldly. If you want to act cool and cold, you can't go wrong by not saying anything. Obviously, Ning Shu was so cold. Although he didn't ask about their well-being, these women felt that he was reliable and subconsciously relied on him. People would always have special feelings for the person who saved them. Therefore, being a hero and saving a beauty was the fastest way to build a relationship. But because Ning Shu wasn't a man, these women wouldn't fall in love with Ning Shu. However, there was an additional sense of respect. Xia Yu was in charge of teaching and taking care of these women. Ning Shu was in charge of acting cool and bringing these people to find a suitable place to live in seclusion. When they heard that Xia Yu was looking for a place to live, these women were relieved. As long as there was a purpose, it was fine. They were afraid that they would wander like this forever. "Sir, have some water." Xia Yu handed the water bottle to Ning Shu. If Sir didn't eat or drink, there would be problems. Ning Shu, "Sorry, I don't drink this kind of water. I only drink dew and eat nectar." Xia Yu's hand holding the water bottle trembled. She couldn't speak for a long time. After a while, she said, "Do you want me to find nectar?" "No, I can find it myself if I want to eat it," Ning Shu said very pretentiously. Xia Yu nodded. "I'll remember it. Every morning I will collect dew for you." Ning Shu thought she was too pretentious. "Ning Shu, you don't have to go through so much trouble. I can do it faster." Ning Shu pointed his finger and clear water droplets appeared in front of him. "See?" Xia Yu was surprised. "Sir, it's already noon. You can still collect dew." Ning Shu shut his mouth. The more he said, the more mistakes he would make. Xia Yu saw that Ning Shu didn't speak, so she didn't pester him anymore. She went to teach the others. From time to time, she would look at Ning Shu, who was holding the umbrella and not moving for half an hour. "Our Sir is really a god." Xia Yu couldn't help but say with stars in her eyes. Her words received a response as many people nodded in agreement. His clothes never seemed to be dirty. He didn't sweat or dirty his face. He was always clean and refreshed. No one doubted that Ning Shu wasn't a human, but a soul. These phenomena added some mystery to him. On the way to migration, they passed by a village and saw many women being put on a fire. They were about to be burned alive. When Ning Shu passed by, he used his spiritual power to scan. He really saw people being burned alive. When he heard Xia Yu say it before, Ning Shu thought it was a bit exaggerated. But now that he saw it, it was really fucking true. And they were being burned alive. They couldn't be burned only after they were killed. The burning pain on the skin, coupled with the suffocation of the smoke, was countless times more painful. Damn, what kind of hatred and resentment made people hate women who were defiled by orcs so much? Maybe they couldn't beat orcs, so they vented their anger on women. They were afraid that women would give birth to monsters. In the past, they used to punish unchaste women with all kinds of family rules. Now they didn't even want to leave a corpse. It was only safe to burn people to ashes. However, the people around were still raising their hands and shouting, "Burn them, burn them." Men and women were like this. The madness on their faces made Ning Shu's heart a little cold. The women tied to the fire either looked desperate and lonely, or their faces were full of hatred. Some begged in fear, begging their families to save them. But there was no response. The bonfire was lit, and Ning Shu pointed in the direction of the bonfire from afar. Chapter 30:10. Dark clouds immediately gathered in the sky and the heavy rain extinguished the flames. The sudden rainstorm stunned everyone. Instead of calming them down, their faces became distorted. There must be a woman who is pregnant with the evil spawn. There must be an evildoer in the sky. The evildoer is protecting his mother. Ning Shu was speechless. The people of this world were all very imaginative. The women who were tied up and thought they were saved begged for mercy in fear. "I'm not pregnant. I'm really not pregnant," Ning Shu said to Xia Yu. There are people in the village ahead who are about to be burned to death. Bring some people to save them. These people were almost at the entry level and had some fighting power. They could be brought out to fight. As long as they saved the people, there was no need to tangle with the villagers. Xiao Yu looked at the village some distance away and turned to look at Ning Shu in shock. He was so far away and yet he knew what was happening there. Ning Shu was speechless. "What are you waiting for?" Xiao Yu said to Ning Shu, "Sir, we're going. Stand here and don't move." Xiao Yu brought a group of more than 10 people into the village. The people in the village were in a frenzy and wanted to kill these women. Suddenly, a group of women appeared with swords. They cut off the ropes tied to their bodies and freed the women. The villagers were stunned. The women were also stunned. They thought they were going to die. They didn't expect someone to save them. Could they survive? Or you? How dare you break into our village and kidnap our people? How dare you? The villagers were shocked by the sudden appearance of a group of women. The strong men in the village surrounded them, intending to keep them here. Someone here has destroyed the evil spawn. They can't be allowed to live. The village chief said cruelly. In the future, everyone will be killed by the evil spawn. Imagining things was a disease. Obviously, the sudden rain and the timing were too coincidental, causing these ignorant villagers to be very scared. Xiao Yu sneered. From the moment you decided to burn them to death, they are no longer villagers of this village. You have no right to burn them to death. The sword in Xiao Yu's hand reflected a cold luster, directly stabbing the person who rushed over to her to death without mercy. Blood was washed by the rain, meandering on the ground. Murder, murder. Death brought fear and panic. Xiao Yu brought up the rear and let the others retreat first. She was currently the strongest, and the others might be killed if they stayed behind. These rescued women were confused. They were taken away by someone. Their hearts were at a loss and excited. Although they didn't know who these people were, they saved them. They only stopped when they saw a woman in white holding an umbrella. These people addressed her as Madam. Ning Shu released his spiritual force. Xiao Yu had not returned yet and was being chased by the villagers. Ning Shu stretched out his vines. The vines quickly stretched towards Xiao Yu and wrapped around her body. Xiao Yu was startled for a moment before she reacted. She seemed to have seen her master use vines before. But this scene frightened the villagers. There was a monster, there was a monster. They couldn't care less about chasing after the woman. They covered their heads and ran back into the village. Ning Shu took back his vines. Xiao Yu immediately said, "Thank you, madam, for saving me." Ning Shu was not afraid of exposing his ability at all. She would not live in this world. She was originally here to search for treasures and would leave after a while. "Thank you, madam." The woman understood that they were saved because of this woman in white. Ning Shu stared at a woman. "You are pregnant." She knew with a sweep of her spiritual force. Everyone was staring at this woman with pity. They even silently moved away from her. There was a large open space around her. The woman looked blank and frightened. She clutched her stomach. "I don't want to give birth to a monster. I don't want to give birth to a monster." Under all kinds of exaggerations, almost everyone believed that the children born from the union of humans and beastmen were monsters. Ning Shu asked, "Then what are you going to do?" "Madam, save me. I don't want to give birth to a monster. I don't want to die. The monster will kill the mother." The woman wanted to grab Ning Shu's skirt. Ning Shu took a few steps back. "The monster will kill the mother. This kind of thing is because the child is deformed or has a strange body shape. It is especially easy to have difficult labor and hemorrhage during birth. After giving birth with difficulty, the mother may bleed to death. If the death rate is too high, people will think that it is the devil in the belly. If you want to do this, don't you have abortion medicine? Just drink a pack of medicine." Ning Shu said. "Does she have to wait until the belly is big and give birth? At that time, the child will already have a soul. Does she have to give birth to a child after being defiled? And this child will most likely be deformed. Perhaps it will stop developing halfway and become a stillborn. If the stillborn can't be discharged from the body, it will contaminate the human body and the person will die of sepsis. She won't stay here until this woman gives birth. Pregnancy and childbirth take several months. If something goes wrong midway, she won't be able to help, so she should make plans early. Such a simple thing, but they have to hug her leg and ask. These women are like birds startled by the twang of a bough. The slightest movement will make them feel like the sky is falling. Xia Yu pulled up the woman kneeling on the ground and said, "Don't trouble madam anymore. When we reach the next town, I'll buy you some medicine. Don't cry." Xia Yu felt that she had killed a few people and was very strong. It was mainly because she felt safe with madam by her side. The group grew bigger again and set off for the next destination. So far, Ning Shu hasn't found a suitable place to live in seclusion. A place like the second-level world has a natural poisonous fog and miasma barrier, and there is another world inside that won't be disturbed by outsiders. These women will probably be afraid of men for a long time. This psychological shadow is very difficult to eliminate. After being defiled by orcs and burned to death by their own race, it can really be said that there is no place for them in this world. Not far from the town, the group stopped. Xia Yu took some money and went to the town to get medicine for the pregnant woman. Not long after, Xia Yu came back and bought a medicine pot. Ning Shu felt that Xia Yu was really becoming more and more capable. She will probably be the leader of this group of self-made women in the future. After boiling the medicine, the woman held the bowl with trembling hands and gritted her teeth to drink it under everyone's gaze. She had nowhere to go and could only follow this group. At least she was still alive. Not long after drinking it, her lower body began to bleed. She was in so much pain that her face turned pale. She grabbed the grass on the ground and her knuckles turned white. Ning Shu said, "Give her some spiritual energy. She will feel better." Xia Yu put her hand on her back and injected some spiritual energy. She asked, "Are you okay?" Chapter 30:11. The woman drank the abortion medicine and lost a lot of blood. Ning Shu suspected that the medicine the doctor gave her was poisonous. Otherwise, why would she bleed so much? Ning Shu said to Xia Yu, "Inject more spiritual energy into her, or it'll be dangerous." Ning Shu took out an embroidery needle from a woman's clothes, disinfected it a little, and began to prick her acupoints. With the help of spiritual energy and Ning Shu's acupuncture, the bleeding under her body gradually stopped. However, the woman's situation didn't look very good. Xia Yu asked, "Are you okay?" The woman's face was pale and she said weakly, "I'm fine." The team still had to go on, and it was impossible to stop for her to rest, so they wrapped the woman in thick clothes and made a simple stretcher to carry her away. Ning Shu suddenly felt like he was on a long march. Along the way, the team grew bigger and bigger, and they took in more people along the way, including the old, the weak, the sick, and the disabled. They even picked up a few newborn girls. The riot caused by the orcs had also affected the human side. It had nothing to do with the baby girls. The baby girls were so small and couldn't do anything to the orcs. Ning Shu felt that if this continued, he would waste a lot of time, so he simply found a place where he could live in seclusion. It was too slow to take so many people with him. Ning Shu told Xia Yu about this. Xia Yu had a big reaction and insisted on going with Ning Shu. She looked a little frightened and insisted on following Ning Shu. "Ning Shu, why are you so excited?" Ning Shu said, "You have to take care of these people and teach them. I'll be back soon." Xia Yu reached out and grabbed Ning Shu. It was cold to the touch, without any human warmth. Ning Shu tilted his head and looked at her. Xia Yu hurriedly let go of her hand. Ning Shu said, "I have to go sooner or later. I've found a place to live in seclusion. You have to live on your own, and I'm going to the place where I should go. It was an accident that I came to this world." Xia Yu asked anxiously, "My lord, where are you going? Can't you take me with you? Can't you live with everyone?" Ning Shu, "No." These people were helping her out and they still wanted to live together. Was she still going to do missions? There were still many things she had to do. She was wasting her time here, living a life of fireworks. What's the point of her not eating or drinking? Xia Yu looked extremely disappointed. "Sir, if you want to leave, can you take Xia Yu with you?" "No, those who follow me are all dead." "Xia Yu?" Ning Shu went on the road alone. Using a spatial jump, his speed was extraordinarily fast. In addition to finding a place to live in seclusion, Ning Shu was more interested in finding some treasures. He didn't need to ask for a good treasure, just the world origin would do. This kind of thing wouldn't be like the nihility world, where many treasures could be born. The treasures of heaven and earth that he found did not count. These things were of no use to Ning Shu, but they could be exchanged for some money. He found a place to live in seclusion. This place was surrounded by cliffs on all sides. Generally speaking, very few people would come to this kind of dangerous place, except for those who could fly and burrow into the ground to cultivate. People who cultivated would not do things like killing women and children. All kinds of things in the human world were already gone, and there was no need to pay attention to it. Ning Shu decided to choose this place to live in seclusion. He built a house in the valley, which could be used for farming, and then set up a seclusion barrier. That was about it. She had done what she needed to do. Ning Shu returned to the team after a few spatial jumps. The atmosphere of the team was a little depressed. Xia Yu told the team about Ning Shu's temporary departure. Not long after, Ning Shu returned. Xia Yu didn't know what expression to make. Although Sir said that he would be back soon, Xia Yu didn't believe it. But who knew that he would really be back soon? Xia Yu didn't know what expression to make. Ning Shu said that he had found a place to live in seclusion and that he would go there now. Then, they wouldn't have to travel so far and find a place to live peacefully. These women obviously didn't have any strength now. If they really had strength, they could fight with those men for their rights. But now they couldn't. Ning Shu wouldn't do anything else. She had stayed in this world for too long. She didn't find any treasures, only the shriveled ginseng. Ning Shu, who didn't find anything good, was very unhappy. He brought these people to the valley. Standing at the edge of the cliff, those who were afraid of heights retreated. It was too high, too scary. Xia Yu looked down. "Sir, are we going to live in this place? How do we go down? How do we get out?" With so many people, they had to have some daily necessities. They could farm, raise silkworms, and weave their own cloth. They were all women, so they knew how to do these things. But they couldn't make daily necessities like salt. Ning Shu said casually, "That's easy. Just leave a passage out." "Xia Yu, a passage wasn't something that could be made just because you wanted to." Xia Yu asked, "Sir, how do we go down now?" Ning Shu, "That's even easier." Ning Shu stretched out his vines and wrapped everyone up. Holding the black bone umbrella, he jumped down the cliff. Help! The sudden high-altitude bungee jumping scared many women and made them scream. Those who were timid fainted directly. Ning Shu tiptoed and landed in the wet forest full of leaves. The vines loosened, and some of the women vomited. Their faces were pale, and they were so scared that they were dumbfounded. They were in a daze. Did they jump down from such a high cliff? They were still alive, weren't they? Ning Shu found a small stream. The village needed to be built by the water. Although the forest was a little dangerous, these women had all cultivated peerless martial arts. No matter how dangerous it was not as dangerous as the outside world. We'll settle down here in the future and slowly develop and recuperate. Ning Shu pointed his finger, and a piece of land began to wriggle. Patches of trees began to collapse. Soon, the surrounding area was razed to the ground. The law of earth was so useful. When he became a farmer in the future, he didn't have to plow the land himself. These trees will be used to build houses. Let's move. Everyone, so, how did you do it? They felt that Sir wasn't human. Was it good to show such power in front of them? They were afraid. Sir wasn't human. Xia Yu said, "Sir, we don't have tools, but at least we need a saw." "Then let's go buy some." Ning Shu dug a cave. Of course, he relied on the law of earth. This cave was very hidden and could let these people in and out. "We can go out from here." Ning Shu pointed at the cave. Everyone was silent. "You're not human. How can you do this with just a raise of your hand?" A few wisps of faith floated to Ning Shu. They were very pure, just like the faith threads in the third level. Chapter 30:12. Ning Shu stretched out his hand and scooped up the pure silk thread. He glanced at these people and wondered who gave her the power of faith. No matter who gave it to her, it was not bad for her to take some power of faith. Everyone only saw that she seemed to be grabbing something, but they didn't see anything. Ning Shu grabbed Xia Yu's collar and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already far away from the canyon. Now they were going to buy tools and some daily necessities. Xia Yu shook and the scene in front of her changed. She looked around in surprise. "My lord, are you a god?" Xia Yu asked Ning Shu. "No, I'm a human, just a human cultivator," Ning Shu said lightly. Xia Yu asked, "I can be like you, my lord." "Work hard." It seemed like a very simple thing to do, but it required too much time and sweat, fear and decadence. Only by working hard behind the scenes could one seem easy in front of others. A strand of pure power of faith floated out from Xia Yu's head, and Ning Shu reached out and caught it. Spreading the peerless martial arts was just to add some power of faith to the peerless martial arts. He didn't think that there would be pure power of faith to take. After shopping for a while, he heard a lot of news. For example, the humans had begun to send troops to war with the beastmen. They were slaughtering the beastmen, and the beastmen were also fighting back. There were people running everywhere with bags on their backs. War was the best way to make something disappear. The heavenly Tao was probably using war to make the beastmen disappear. Based on what Ning Shu saw, she felt that this kind of conflict was inevitable and would definitely happen. Even if there was going to be a war, the beastmen were still fulfilling their obligations. The more they fought, the more they would die and the more they would reproduce. Carrying a lot of things, Ning Shu directly brought Xia Yu back to the canyon. Their speed was very fast. Xia Yu was dumbfounded. What kind of power was this? What kind of power could do this? With the tools, these women began to build houses. They might not build them well, but they could have a place to stay. These women all cultivated peerless martial arts and were quite strong. Even men couldn't compare to them when it came to work. Ning Shu said to Xia Yu, "I'm leaving." Xia Yu's eyes trembled. Ning Shu asked, "Then will Sir come back?" "I might come back. When I'm free, I might come back for a stroll," Ning Shu said. Then, Xia Yu and the others. Xia Yu forced a smile on Ning Shu's face. "We will definitely build our home well. Sir, you can come back and live with us." Xia Yu felt that the chances of seeing her master again were very small. Ning Shu only said, "This is where you live. Try not to let outsiders in." Xia Yu nodded fiercely. "Sir, I understand. Other than some desperate women, they can live here. Stinky men can forget about coming in. If you kill women now, there will be fewer women after the war. At that time, women will be used as tools for reproduction," Xia Yu said hatefully. The war caused the population to decrease. After the war, the most important thing was to recuperate and have children to replenish the population. Xia Yu had an indescribable expression on her face. When there are fewer women, let's see what those men who gave the order to kill women will do. Ning Shu was speechless. "Well, you're right. However, when there are fewer women, they will either be worshipped or become goods to be used as tools for reproduction." Ning Shu directly left the 4th level. Other than a thread of faith power, he didn't gain anything else. Perhaps it could increase the power of the peerless martial arts, but this kind of power was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. Moreover, it was slow. One had to cultivate the peerless martial arts to a certain extent to increase the power of the peerless martial arts. Ning Shu didn't know if those women had the awareness to cultivate. After all, they already had a stable place to live. He hoped that the dangers of the jungle could temper their willpower and strengthen their belief in cultivation. Ning Shu was least worried about Xia Yu. Xia Yu's belief in pursuing power was stronger than anyone else's. Ning Shu planned to enter the 5th level to take a look, but he couldn't enter it every time. What kind of world was the 5th level? She felt that the heavenly Tao of the 5th level was repelling her. Perhaps it was because she wasn't strong enough. Ning Shu squeezed in with difficulty. The further in he went, the stronger the repelling force. He was almost bounced out. In the end, Ning Shu squeezed in with difficulty. As soon as he entered, he saw a dark scarlet color. All kinds of wailing sounds rang in his ears. All kinds of souls were being whipped and suffered all kinds of torture. Tongues were being pulled out, skin was being flayed, and the stomach was being cut open. All kinds of wailing sounds gathered together. It was terrifying. There were red spider lilies, as well as frightening ox heads and horse faces that held the souls of others. This scene made Ning Shu feel like he had come to hell. These souls had done evil in their lives and were now being punished. This was the hell that people imagined. However, Ning Shu didn't expect to see a real hell. Hell actually didn't exist. It was made up by people. It was a hell that was created because of the fear of death and because of good and evil. People often cursed you to go to the 18 levels of hell. What kind of female ghost are you? How dare you trespass here? A repulsive and ferocious ghost named Ning Shu said angrily. What's your name? Ning Shu's mental power swept through all kinds of situations in hell. The bridge of helplessness, Grandma Meng's soup, reincarnation and rebirth. The hell that people imagined was really placed in front of Ning Shu. This was the 5th level world. If this was hell, then there was a human world outside. Bold female ghost, I asked your name. Why didn't you answer? The ghost swung the iron chain and wanted to lock Ning Shu up. Ning Shu said, Ning Shu. Ning Shu. Then the ghost actually started to check Ning Shu's book of life and death. Why is there no name? The ghost was very confused. Of course there was no name. She wasn't from this world. Ning Shu looked around this hell and found that the bridge of helplessness and the book of life and death were rippling with spiritual energy. Obviously they were powerful magic tools. Which almighty person directly created a hell? In other words, with such a hell, there was no need for a reincarnation world. As for the Grandma Meng's soup, Ning Shu guessed that it was some kind of cultivation soup that could make people forget everything. This was a man-made hell. It used souls to manage souls and judge souls. It decided which path of the 6 paths of reincarnation a soul would go to. It decided whether the soul was good or evil according to what they did when they were alive. Ning Shu felt that the heavenly Tao of this world rejected her because it didn't want to break this situation. It divided the world into 2. Half was the human world and the other half was hell. It could be well managed. He didn't know what the outside world was like. Ning Shu saw that these souls were wearing ancient and modern clothes. It was clear at a glance when these ghosts died. Therefore, Ning Shu didn't stroll in the underworld. Instead, he directly came out of hell. Chapter 30:13. However, when he went out, he was trapped by the enchantment of hell. Using the enchantment to separate the human world and hell, Ning Shu was once again certain that this hell was man-made. Which malicious ghost dares to escape from hell? Ning Shu's escape quickly attracted the attention of the management of hell. Ning Shu did not want to break the enchantment. If he did, the souls in hell would rush into the human world and break the balance. Ning Shu felt that the heavenly Tao would dislike him even more. Ning Shu said, I'm just passing by. I plan to go out. Where is the passage? The ghosts were speechless. Souls should stay in hell and be judged before reincarnating. Ning Shu asked, will it take away my soul power? As long as you cleanse yourself of your sins, you can reincarnate. Oxhead and Horseface probably did not want to fight with Ning Shu because his soul was condensed. Although they did not have any evil aura, it did not mean that such malicious ghosts were not evil. Ning Shu rubbed his chin in thought. He didn't need to extract the strength of his soul. He only needed to be cut open, blinded, steamed, and subjected to all sorts of tortures. After torturing him for 200 years, he could be reborn. There was no need to extract his soul power. However, under such torture, he could not guarantee that his soul would remain intact or strong. Ning Shu asked, where is the exit? I'm not telling you. The management of the underworld wants to capture Ning Shu. It seemed that he could only break through the enchantment forcefully. Space jump. Ning Shu disappeared in an instant. However, he had only jumped out of hell and his body was stuck in the enchantment. This was a little awkward. Ning Shu had thought that if she jumped out, she would be able to jump far away. The suppression of this world was very strong. The ghost in the enchantment grabbed Ning Shu's ankle and tried to pull him out. Ning Shu kicked him away and jumped out of the enchantment. He saw a small alley with dim street lights and the sound of car horns in the distance. This was indeed a modern society. There should be very few people who could cultivate. No wonder this world rejected other things from entering. Ghost. A drunkard saw Ning Shu dressed in white in the alley and immediately turned around to run. Ning Shu curled his lips and rolled his eyes. Had he ever seen such a beautiful ghost? Idiot. I don't have a ferocious face, I don't have a long tongue, I don't have bleeding eyes, and I don't have a rotten body that's wriggling on the ground. What makes you think I'm a ghost? Ning Shu walked out of the alley and turned invisible, walking among the passers-by. This world was exactly the same as modern society. Ning Shu even suspected that he had arrived in a modern world. Other worlds had people who cultivated, but this world was developing technology. But what followed was that he could no longer cultivate, restricted by the heavenly Tao. Ning Shu walked along the street and brushed shoulders with a few souls. Some of these ghosts were sticking to people's bodies and hugging them, but the people who were hugged didn't feel anything. Although there was hell, there were still many souls left in the human world. Then there were cases of malicious ghosts harming people. This kind of thing was not uncommon. Ning Shu picked up a small advertisement on the ground. Well, it wasn't an advertisement for a prostitute, but an advertisement for a ghost-catching firm. The main business was to look at feng shui and catch ghosts. In short, it was to do everything related to ghosts. He didn't expect that this world wasn't beaten into superstition and still had a feeling of prosperity. Along the way, Ning Shu picked up a few such advertisements. For some reason, Ning Shu suddenly felt that this world was a little cute. Ning Shu was looking at the advertisement when a piece of paper was suddenly pasted on his back. Ning Shu turned around and looked at the talisman on his shoulder. He took it down and looked expressionlessly at the little brother who pasted the paper on him. Damn! This handsome little brother was sweating profusely. He was obviously a ghost. Why wasn't he afraid of the talisman? Was it because he couldn't make the talisman? Why was this ghost able to take it down so easily? Master clearly said that there was no problem with his talent. Luo Yi fell into self-doubt. There was no shadow around her. He was sure that she was a ghost, although she did look like a human. Luo Yi, this soul is very powerful. Let her be your Shikigami. A soul floated out of Luo Yi's body. This ghost was wearing a suit. He must have been a social elite when he was alive. Luo Yi was probably a young celestial master who had just debuted. He was especially shy and scratched his head. I might not be willing. Ning Shu nodded. I'm not willing. By the way, what is a Shikigami? You don't know. Let me tell you. Some ghosts are willing to go to the underworld and cooperate with celestial masters to catch malicious ghosts and accumulate merit. Ning Shu explained. If you become a celestial master's Shikigami, the underworld won't catch you. If you're a wandering ghost and don't go to the underworld after a certain time, you can only drift in the human world. At this time, you need someone to help you. Ning Shu understood. Only then can I come out of the underworld. Luo Yi. Then do you want to become my Shikigami? You'll be easily caught. If you become a celestial master, the underworld won't catch you. The underworld will give the celestial master some face. Ning Shu. I don't know how to do anything. Don't look for me. Luo Yi immediately said, It's okay. You can learn slowly. Don't worry, I'm also a new celestial master. We can learn from each other. Ning Shu. I don't dare to follow you. Catching ghosts is risking my life. Moreover, a celestial master is a rookie. He must have lived for a long time. She just came out for a stroll. She didn't expect to meet a rookie celestial master who insisted on asking her to join his team. Ning Shu felt that there shouldn't be any treasures in this world. After all, the spiritual energy in modern society was getting less and less. It couldn't produce any treasures. The rookie celestial master wanted to say something, but a luxurious car stopped at the side of the road. A tall man got out of the car and walked straight to the rookie. Why are you still here? The Li family found an ancient tomb. It's a little strange. You should go and take a look. Ning Shu looked at the man. He had a strong aura. He should be a celestial master. Ning Shu saw that he had merit. Most importantly, the two of them were gay. She felt that there was something wrong. A rookie being attacked by a big boss X or something. How touching. Isn't the tomb tomorrow? I'm chatting with my future Shikigami now, Luo-yi said to the cold-faced man. Luo-yi looked like a good-tempered and very soft boy. The man looked at Ning Shu and frowned. Don't let her be your Shikigami. She's a woman. Is it convenient for you to follow her at all times? Men and women are different. The female ghost Ning Shu. So, her existence made this big boss celestial master jealous? So, was this the cookie world of daily ghost catching? She looked quite adorable. /BK. Chapter 30:14. Ning Shu did not intend to become the Shikigami of this rookie Taoist master. She felt that this big shot had already listed her as an obstacle. Since he was so gay, he should be wary of the Shikigami in a suit. Luo-yi said, she's already dead. There's no difference between men and women. Alright, up to you. The big shot stared at Ning Shu with a cold gaze. It was obvious that he wanted Ning Shu to give up on becoming this big shot's Shikigami. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. What the hell? It was as if she wanted to become the Shikigami of this rookie Taoist master. Your merit is completely useless to me. Your Taoist master methods are also useless to me. Ning Shu smiled at the rookie. Suddenly, she felt that the big shot's aura had become colder and carried a murderous aura. Ning Shu asked Luo-yi, are you guys going to the tomb? Are there any treasures in the tomb? Ning Shu thought that she could not come here for nothing. It would be good to collect any treasures in the tomb. Ning Shu hoped that there would be soul pearls in this world where humans and ghosts coexisted. The big shot Taoist master said, there are no treasures, but there are many malicious ghosts and zombies. You're already a ghost. Why do you still want treasures? The big shot Taoist master looked at Ning Shu with suspicion. If he did not believe in his profession, he would think that the soul in front of him was not a ghost but a greedy person. He wanted to go to the tomb to fish for benefits. Luo-yi said, the tomb is indeed very dangerous. As for what burial items the tomb owner has, we'll know when we enter the tomb. Ning Shu nodded and used her spiritual force to scan the tomb to see if there was anything inside. This Taoist master did not want Ning Shu to become Luo-yi's Shikigami. Ning Shu did not want to become anyone's Shikigami. Something like a Shikigami had to be signed. After signing a contract, the contract would bind the Shikigami. At the same time, it would protect the Shikigami from being taken away by the people of the underworld. She was here for a stroll, not to sign a contract with anyone. A contract was not to be underestimated. It was recognized by the heavenly Tao. If she wanted to leave, she had to pay a price. She had to be crazy to become the heavenly master's Shikigami. Ning Shu planned to walk around this world. As for treasures, he wasn't looking forward to it. Ning Shu saw that the two of them seemed to have merit and providence. Perhaps they were the main characters of Sweet Biscuit. Following the main character usually meant that something big would happen. Ning Shu thought for a moment and decided to follow the rookie celestial master first. I can't become your Shikigami for the time being, but I can follow you and see your strength. Although I'm a ghost, I'm very good at catching ghosts. Ning Shu said to Luo-yi. Luo-yi nodded without hesitation. Sure. This heavenly master was really a little naive. She trusted her so much, probably because she was very confident in her own strength. The boss looked at Ning Shu with a sharp gaze. What's your purpose for following him? What purpose can I have? I just want to test the master's strength and then decide whether to become his Shikigami or not. Can't I understand the character and ability of the future Shikigami master? Heavenly master, sure, it's okay. Luo-yi said to the man. Since we're going to be partners in the future, we should be more careful. Luo-yi was worried that the other party would agree to the contract. What if the contract was a malicious ghost with a bad personality, or used him to stay in the human world? It would take a long time to see the character. Heavenly Master sure looked very impatient and said, your master asked me to take care of you, but you haven't even gotten the elementary Heavenly Master certificate. You can't control this kind of ghost. Although I don't have a certificate, I'm a good heavenly master. My master said that I can go out and explore. Luo-yi looked serious. Heavenly Master sure suppressed the urge to strangle this guy and gave him a talisman. If there's anything, use this talisman to inform me. Then he warned Ning Shu, if I find out that you have other thoughts and hurt him, I'll destroy your soul. Ning Shu stuck out his tongue and made a face. What does it have to do with you? You're such a busybody. The boss's expression turned ugly, and even his aura started to become chaotic. He was obviously angered by Ning Shu. Heavenly Master, sure, you have something to do. You can leave first. I won't delay you. Luo-yi waved his hand. Heavenly Master sure stepped on the accelerator and disappeared. He was very fast. Good luck getting a ticket. Luo-yi said to Ning Shu, I have a mission now. Do you want to go with me? Ning Shu said, no. Luo-yi. Ning Shu followed behind Luo-yi and arrived at a park. There were several ghosts wandering in the park, and they were all female ghosts. They were full of resentment. Well, do you see anything? Luo-yi wanted to test Ning Shu's ability. Ning Shu glanced at him and said, these ghosts should have been killed by a person, and their bodies have been dismembered. They should be buried here. Ning Shu's spiritual power scanned and found that there were bones buried under the park. These bones were all incomplete and had been chopped up. However, the incisions were neat. They should have been done with a chainsaw. It was amazing. No wonder the park was so gloomy at night. Gao Yang, go find the bones. I'll expiate these female ghosts, Luo-yi said. The man in a suit called Gao Yang floated out to find the bones. Ning Shu didn't say anything. This park was not small. It would take some time to find the bones. Ning Shu asked, you can find the bones with some means. Why do you want people to look for them? It's more dangerous for Gao Yang to stay here. Let him find the bones. Ning Shu said, oh, you're so sweet. Luo-yi? Are you not sure you can expiate them? This kind of resentment was very strong. It lingered around the bones, but it didn't dare to find the person who killed them. Ghosts were also afraid of evil people. Luo-yi shook his head. Then don't forcibly expiate them. These people are lingering here because they can't take revenge. You can call the police and say that bones were found here. Let the police track down the murderer. Let the murderer be punished when he's alive and punished when he's dead. Don't you feel good about it? It's not good to link things related to ghosts to human affairs, Luo-yi said. Ning Shu said, you're not sweet. You're silly. If there's a murder, why don't you call the police? Are you going to avenge these female ghosts? Are you going to kill the murderer? Luo-yi's face turned red. How can I kill people? The Celestial Master Association has a rule that Celestial Masters can't harm people. I'll wait for Gao Yang to come back and ask if I can call the police. The main thing is that Celestial Masters can't get too involved in human affairs. Ning Shu clicked his tongue. Human affairs? Do you think you're a god? It's not like that. Celestial Masters can't do things with great fanfare. If we can solve it, we can't do anything else. Luo-yi waved his hand. /BK. Chapter 30:15. This child was definitely a young boy who had just entered the pugilistic world. Otherwise, why would his brain be so slow? He did not look like an old fox at all. He was so tender that one could not help but want to ravage him. Being stared at by Ning Shu, Luo-yi had no choice but to call Gao Yang back. Gao Yang found the place where the bodies were buried. The owner asked if he could call the police and let the police handle this matter. Gao Yang glanced at Ning Shu and nodded. Of course you can call the police. This is a criminal case to begin with. This is a reasonable use of social resources. Solve this matter from the source. Since it's a murder, he won't stop just like that. If he's caught, there's no need to expiate these souls in the future. However, we need to do something before we can call the police. Either we inform the Celestial Master Association and let them negotiate with the police. Ordinary people did not believe in such things, but the country had set up a department to deal with such matters. Ning Shu nodded. Gao Yang's lazy method was right. Countless people died in vain every day. If the murderer was caught, the resentment of these souls would be reduced a lot, and it would be much easier to expiate them. The sweet Luo Yi called the Celestial Master Association while Ning Shu looked at these malicious spirits. Black aura rippled on their bodies as they were expiated into the underworld. Ning Shu was curious about how the underworld operated. Were the employees working for free? No organization could survive without profits. If the soul power of these souls was not extracted, what was the salary of the employees in the underworld? Was it really burning paper in the human world that was money? Was there no other reward? Was there no powerful reward? Luo Yi called the Celestial Master Association. The person who answered the phone was Celestial Master Shi. He told Celestial Master Shi about this matter and asked him to call the police. After Luo Yi hung up the phone, Ning Shu said to Luo Yi, "Why do I feel that your colleague doesn't like me very much?" Luo Yi said, "Celestial Master Shi is a cold-faced but warm-hearted person. When I accepted Gao Yang as my Shikigami, he strongly objected. He said that celestial masters should improve their own strength and not rely on external forces. He has always been against me accepting Shikigami." Ning Shu curled his lips. Then didn't he accept Shikigami? No, Heavenly Master Shi doesn't seem to like ghosts. Luo Yi said carelessly, "My master said that as long as I have power, I can use it. Furthermore, it's a mutually beneficial relationship with a powerful soul. There's no contradiction with strengthening myself." Ning Shu said, "Your master is right." Gao Yang looked at the wandering souls and said, "Let's wait until the case is solved." Luoyang brought Ning Shu to his apartment. The small apartment was not big. It was a boy's room, and it was a mess. All kinds of props were placed everywhere. Talismans, peachwood swords, compass, Ning Shu. You don't even bring tools when you go out. How could he go and expiate a soul so casually? Was he crazy? Luo Yi said, "I'm just going to check out the place. I won't be releasing souls for the time being. This is my first business, so I have to be careful." Ning Shu. "Sorry, I didn't realize how cautious you were." Luo Yi seemed to have seen through Ning Shu's thoughts and said, "My physique is rather special. My blood can restrain evil." Ning Shu. It seemed that he was born to be a celestial master. No wonder he could go there so fearlessly. "Don't get too close to me and don't get my blood on you. Try not to touch these things in the house. You haven't made a contract with me yet. These things will hurt you." Before Luo Yi could finish speaking, he saw Ning Shu pick up the peachwood sword and wave it before hanging it back on the wall. Luo Yi was a little choked and asked, "Are you a soul?" Ning Shu nodded. "Yes, but I'm not afraid of this little bit of yang qi. Ordinary things are useless to me." These props had the yang qi that could restrain ghosts. Generally, souls were relatively weak. Too strong yang qi would hurt the soul, so ghosts were very afraid of the things in the hands of celestial masters. Luo Yi said, "Then you're really strong. Why did you stay in the human world and not reincarnate in the underworld?" "I'm so free. Why should I reincarnate?" Ning Shu picked up a piece of talisman paper and looked at it. The talisman paper didn't contain much spirit qi. Luo Yi saw Ning Shu playing with the talisman paper and felt that she didn't look like a ghost, but a human. Otherwise, how would she dare to take these things? Perhaps only his blood could deal with her. If such a ghost were to cause trouble, ordinary celestial masters might not be able to deal with it. He wondered if Master could deal with it. Luo Yi asked, "Are you a ghost king?" "Some ghosts could become ghosts." Ning Shu thought for a moment. "Kind of, but I'm better looking than a ghost king." A ghost king was as fierce as it could be, as scary as it could be. It was ugly. Luo Yi thought so too. If he didn't look carefully, he would think that it was a human girl and not a ghost. Luo Yi didn't dare to underestimate ghosts. Even a child or a ghost baby was very strong, let alone an adult. The next day, Luo Yi prepared to go to the Li family's tomb. Ning Shu was waiting for this moment. In this world where humans and ghosts coexisted, there should be a lot of supernatural things. Especially in the tomb, where Yin Qi nourished, he didn't know what good things there were. Ning Shu walked out of the apartment with the black bone umbrella. Celestial Master sure drove to pick up Luo Yi. Luo Yi was carrying all kinds of things. There were talismans, a peachwood sword, a compass. Anyway, he took everything he could carry. He looked like a refugee. Celestial Master Shi's eyebrows twitched, and his expression looked quite strange. But Luo Yi didn't seem to be embarrassed at all. He stuffed everything into the trunk. When it was a little full, he stuffed it in with all his strength. Celestial Master Shi asked, "Why are you carrying so many things? What if the tomb is dangerous?" "My master said that in a place like a tomb, if we're not careful, we'll be wiped out. No one knows what's inside, so it's better to be prepared." As a new Celestial Master, he had to remember his master's words. Celestial Master Shi's expression was very helpless. When he saw Ning Shu squeezing into the car, his expression was quite bad. Ning Shu sat next to Luo Yi. Celestial Master Shi, who was driving, narrowed his eyes. Luo Yi had a young body. Ordinary ghosts wouldn't dare to get close to him, but this ghost could. Celestial Master Shi asked Luo Yi, "Did you accept her as your Shikigami?" Luo Yi shook his head. The car drove to a sparsely populated place. When they reached a mountain range, the car couldn't continue driving. They could only carry the things and walk. Ning Shu held the black bone umbrella and walked leisurely. Luo Yi carried several bags and was so tired that he was panting. Ning Shu said sarcastically, "Little Celestial Master, your physique is not good. How are you going to fight with the evil ghost?" His physique was obviously that of a thin and weak teenager. Yes, he must be weak. Celestial Master Shi glanced at Ning Shu, took Luo Yi's bags, and helped to carry them. Chapter 30:16. Heaven Master Shi's physique was much better than Luo Yi's. He carried the bag very easily. This tomb was rather secretive. It took a long time for them to reach the tomb after walking for a long time. There were many people not far from the tomb. They were probably all Heaven Masters. Some of them had white hair, some were old, and some were young like Luo Yi. Ning Shu felt that as soon as he entered the tomb, the Yin energy became very heavy. There should be a tomb here. Fortunately, it was a deserted place. Otherwise, there would be many haunted events. Moreover, when the Yin energy invaded the human body, it would damage the body and cause hallucinations. It would happen in minutes. As soon as the Yin energy approached Luo Yi, it automatically dissipated. This kind of body could not be envied. Heaven Master Shi, you're here. When Heaven Master Shi arrived, many people greeted him, but Luo Yi, who was beside him, was completely ignored. He was probably treated as Heaven Master Shi's assistant. Luo Yi did not feel embarrassed at all. He went to the side to tidy up his things. Heaven Master Shi talked to these people while paying attention to Luo Yi. Ning Shu squatted down and held an umbrella. He asked Luo Yi, "Little Heaven Master, what do you think of Heaven Master Shi?" "He's pretty good, just a little cold. Although I know he has a good heart, seeing his face makes me scared. I don't think I get along with him very well. There are many things between us that don't go well." Ning Shu shook his head. No, you don't understand love. Heaven Master Shi was so nosy. He liked to blabber in front of Luo Yi when he had nothing to do. He knew very well what he was thinking. He did not blabber to anyone else. Ning Shu chatted with Luo Yi. Heaven Master Shi came over and asked Luo Yi, "Have you tidied up everything? We're going to the tomb soon." "It's done," Luo Yi said. The Li family was also a feng shui family. They found such a tomb and carefully investigated it. The Yin energy outside was so heavy. After thinking carefully, they felt that the Li family could not take it down, so they gathered their peers. The Heaven Master of the Li family warned them. After the preparations were done, they entered the tomb one by one from a thief's hole. It was a stolen tomb. This kind of hole was made by tomb robbers. Heavenly Master Shi said to Luo Yi, "Stay with me. If anything happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to your master." Luo Yi said, "It's okay. My master said that as a Taoist master, you have to catch and kill ghosts to expiate ghosts. You can also be killed by ghosts. Those who kill will be killed by Renheng." Heavenly Master Shi's expression was so complicated that Ning Shu almost laughed out loud. Luo Yi was really sweet. She was so sweet and naive. The mine wasn't big and could only fit one person, so they had to crawl. Ning Shu closed the umbrella and followed them in. He was quite excited because the yin qi in the tomb was very strong. There must be a lot of ghosts and zongzi inside. There might even be zombies. Usually, when something like this was born, there would be good things buried with it. Since he had already come to this world, he wasn't sure if he would be able to come here again. If he could bring back some good stuff, wouldn't that be great? Ning Shu was excited, but the other heavenly masters were in a heavy mood. In such a situation, they had to use methods to defend against the yin qi. The yin qi was so heavy that he couldn't see anything clearly. Luo Yi didn't need to defend against the yin qi at all. The yin qi couldn't enter his body at all. Heavenly Master Shi was so powerful that he didn't care about the yin qi. The mine was a little long. After crawling for a while, they arrived at the tomb. The tomb wasn't small. There were all kinds of passages crisscrossing. There were puddles on the ground and the sound of water dripping echoed in the cave, making the mine seem even quieter. The sound of footsteps added a terrifying atmosphere to the silence. Ning Shu opened the umbrella. The yin qi was so strong and dirty that he had to protect his soul from being polluted. Luo Yi whispered, "There's no sun here. Why are you opening an umbrella?" Luo Yi thought that Ning Shu opened the umbrella to avoid the sun. Many ghosts didn't dare to come out during the day because the yang qi was abundant and was very harmful to ghosts. However, in the tomb, it was dark. Why would he need a flashlight? Why would he open an umbrella? Luo Yi couldn't figure it out. Know yourself and know your enemy. Therefore, Luo Yi wanted to know why Ning Shu was opening an umbrella at this time. It was so inconvenient. Heavenly Master Shi turned his head to look at Luo Yi and Ning Shu. Ning Shu showed his porcelain white teeth and smiled eerily. "Because it looks good." Heavenly Master Shi frowned and pulled Luo Yi to his side, using himself to separate Ning Shu and Luo Yi. This ghost looked a little crazy. When he was alive, his brain must have been abnormal. They had been walking in this passage for a long time. Gradually, some people realized that something was wrong. Heavenly Master Shi stopped and squatted down to look at the cinnabar on the ground. He originally wanted to make a mark, but he didn't expect to come back. "Everyone wait. We're going in circles now." More than one person noticed this situation. Ning Shu released his spiritual power, but it seemed to be blocked. Was there a barrier? If there was a barrier, then the identity of the tomb owner was really not simple. A barrier was obviously a cultivation method. Only a cultivator could set it up. Of course, a heavenly master could do it, but there were probably not many people present who could set up a barrier that could last for hundreds of years. Perhaps the owner of the tomb might be a heavenly master. They might be going in circles because of the barrier. Luo Yi cut his finger and squeezed out blood. Ning Shu turned to look at the blood on his finger. The blood seemed to be boiling and emitted white smoke. Ning Shu's expression was a little strange. If this blood was thrown on her body, it might hurt. "You're bleeding again?" Heavenly Master Shi disagreed. He would bleed whenever he encountered something. "Do you think your blood is omnipotent?" "My master." Heavenly Master Shi had a headache when he heard him say master. "All right, give it a try." Luo Yi drew a talisman on the wall with blood. After he finished drawing, his face turned even paler. Ning Shu shook his head. This was a barrier, not something evil. Luo Yi's blood was probably useless. The talisman that Luo Yi drew with blood lit up for a moment and dimmed. The effect was gone. Heavenly Master Shi took out his Dharma artifact and began to test the surrounding environment. Every heavenly master tried their best. "We might be in a smokescreen," a heavenly master said. Heavenly Master Shi had some strength. He used his Dharma artifact to break the barrier. The entire tomb seemed to shake. Then, the scene before everyone's eyes changed. Everyone was standing in a tomb chamber. There were many stone coffins in the tomb chamber. Each stone coffin was carved with many patterns. They were extremely complicated and were even coated with paint. These paints were still bright with the passage of time. They should be mineral paints that did not fade. Chapter 30:17. There were a few skeletons around these coffins. They were already white bones, and there were many grave-robbing tools around the skeletons. Maybe they were the poor grave robbers who dug the hole. It seemed that this should be a tomb, but it was not the main tomb. The people buried in these coffins were probably very important to the tomb owner. Otherwise, they would not have used such gorgeous coffins. Ning Shu grinned. They had been fooled again because her spiritual power was still blocked, which meant that there was still a barrier around. This barrier looked much more real than before, and there were also the skeletons of the grave robbers. How exactly was an illusion constructed? Luo Yi whispered to Heavenly Master Shi, "Heavenly Master Shi, why is there no danger?" There was such a strong yin qi outside, but there was not even a ghost inside. This was not scientific at all. The whole tomb seemed to be from a long time ago. Some rich and powerful tomb owners like to make some things to guard their tombs. These things might be some strange creatures or souls. They killed some people and trapped their souls inside. Under the nourishment of the yin qi, these souls turned into malicious ghosts and tore apart the people who entered the tomb. It was too clean. There was nothing. It was not right. Heavenly Master Shi frowned and said, "This might be an illusion." The tomb owner was really naughty. Ning Shu said to Luo Yi, "I guess the next one will not be an illusion." Luo Yi was speechless. "Don't bet when you are so serious." Ning Shu said, "It's time to show you my strength." Ning Shu raised his white finger and pointed at the center of the array. The array was broken. It was destroyed by Ning Shu's spiritual power. The scene in front of them changed again. Everyone sucked in a breath of air because they were standing in front of a pit. This pit was filled with corpses, all of them white bones. These bones had begun to turn yellow and there were holes of all sizes on them. The bones were mixed together and it was impossible to tell which one was which. Ning Shu felt that it was a pity. Why did they kill people and leave them here? It would be great if they were cute skeletons. Ning Shu shook her head, her face full of heartache. What a waste. Luo Yi felt that although this female ghost was quite strange, he was still full of sympathy. Luo Yi explained, "These skeletons should be the craftsmen who built the tomb. In order to prevent their tomb from being discovered, some tomb owners would kill these craftsmen." "Ning Shu, you're crazy." With a series of rustling sounds, the skeletons actually began to move. It was not the skeletons that moved, but the insects that lived under the skeletons. Now that they smelled the scent of a living person, they came out in full force. It was so dense that it made people feel numb all over. Even trypophobia was acting up. These insects had yin qi on their bodies, and they were also poisonous. Once bitten, it would be over. Those who could be invited by the Li family were not ordinary people. Of course, there were also some heavenly masters who were not strong enough and wanted to reap some benefits. They were bitten to death by these bugs in the first wave. Wails of agony rang out one after another. These insects drilled into the bodies of the people densely. Very quickly, the bodies turned into bloody skeletons. Some pieces of flesh swayed on the bones. This scene was so disgusting that it made people want to vomit. Luo Yi took out talismans. These talismans spontaneously ignited and turned into a sea of fire. The insects were burned, and the smell of burnt protein wafted out. It was also a little fragrant. But at the thought that these insects ate human flesh, the smell made people want to vomit. Ning Shu held the umbrella and floated in the air. She didn't move. Although the insects wanted to bite Ning Shu, they were all blocked by Ning Shu's barrier. Ning Shu floated to the main tomb. She felt a familiar fluctuation. Under such circumstances, it meant that there must be a treasure that she was familiar with or had seen before in this tomb. Seeing that Ning Shu floated away, the others hurriedly followed. After all, whatever treasure was in the main tomb, it was snatched by this Shikigami first. Some heavenly masters had Shikigami, and some didn't. When they saw Ning Shu, these heavenly masters thought that Ning Shu was the Shikigami of a certain heavenly master. The main tomb was blocked by a huge door. The thick stone door was carved with frightening ghost faces. On both sides of the door stood a fat and beautiful stone statue of a horse with its front hooves raised. If they broke through this stone door, they would be able to enter the main tomb. There were a few lines of words carved on the side of the door. What the hell was written? Heavenly Master Sure said, "The owner of the tomb is warning us not to open the door." Ning Shu, I don't care at all. The closer they got, the more familiar the fluctuation was. Every treasure had a special fluctuation. This fluctuation was difficult for ordinary people to detect, or this fluctuation could represent the identity of the treasure itself. So Ning Shu didn't care about the warning at all. But there were so many people. She might be fine, but it didn't mean that these heavenly masters would be fine. It depended on their decision. If they decided to leave, Ning Shu would pry open the stone door alone. If these people stayed and decided to open the stone door, Ning Shu would do it. After all, the minority followed the majority. If she did it and something happened, the result would be blamed on her. She could leave, but after all, she was brought here by Luo Yi. If she ran away, Luo Yi couldn't run away. It was better not to cause trouble for the silly girl. Let's part on good terms. The heavenly masters discussed for a while and decided to ignore the tomb owner's warning. They wanted to open the door and see what was inside. However, this stone door was extremely thick. They tried to find the mechanism but couldn't find it. So, they couldn't open it at all. They wanted to go in. All kinds of brilliant moves hit the stone door. The tomb only shook, but the stone door couldn't be opened at all. So, the power of life was still stronger. Ning Shu stretched out her vines. The vines pierced into the ground and then broke out under the stone door. The vines directly propped up the stone door. The stone door opened and Ning Shu was the first to rush in. When the other heavenly masters saw Ning Shu rushing in, they quickly rushed in as well. But they regretted it as soon as they entered. It was like hell inside because it was densely packed with evil ghosts. These evil ghosts were all covered in black smoke. They were very powerful ghosts. Thick yin qi blew in their faces. This was completely an undead army. There were at least 200 ghosts. These ghosts were guarding the coffin in the middle. The color of this coffin was gorgeous, as if it had been buried not long ago. When the ghost saw a stranger, it immediately pounced over and looked like it was going to eat him. Ning Shu went straight for the coffin. The malicious ghosts pounced at her, but they were all repelled by the barrier around her. Ning Shu stopped in front of the coffin and wanted to open the lid. The stone coffin was very heavy. Ning Shu pushed it open. A stench came from the coffin. Ning Shu covered her nose with one hand and fanned with the other. She looked inside the stone coffin. The corpse in the stone coffin was wearing armor. Chapter 30:18. He didn't know what material this armor was made of, but it looked quite new. This was an ancient man, about 30 or 40 years old. His skin was green and white, and his corpse hadn't decayed. Ning Shu reached out and searched the corpse. Finally, he pinched the corpse's mouth and found the jade stone in the mouth. It wasn't a jade stone, but it was a black pearl. Ning Shu directly reached out and pulled the pearl out of the corpse's mouth. He was overjoyed. This was a soul pearl. In a world where humans and ghosts coexisted, there was a certain chance that such a pearl would be born. Back then, she used a soul pearl to form the world of reincarnation. But what was the process? Ning Shu didn't remember the process of forming the world of reincarnation. He couldn't replicate it even if he wanted to. Ning Shu directly hid the pearl and didn't let these heavenly masters know. He casually took a pearl from the coffin and stuffed it into the corpse's mouth. Basically, people who were buried had the custom of holding a jade in their mouth. Other than the jade, there had to be grains beside the corpse. On the way to the underworld, there seemed to be roosters that pecked at souls. When there was grain, the roosters would eat it. I admire the big shots who created the underworld. They really perfectly recreated the hell that humans imagined. Ning Shu reached out and pinched the corpse. He didn't know if it had turned into a zombie. Its body seemed to have green hair, but it didn't seem to have consciousness. It actually held the soul pearl in its mouth and gathered the surrounding yin qi, allowing the yin qi to enter the corpse. Although it wasn't a place to cultivate corpses, it was a man-made place to cultivate corpses. If a person didn't want to die and resentment grew in their heart, the 7 souls wouldn't disperse. The 7 souls were the 7 emotions and 6 desires of a person. They would stay in the body, unwilling to leave and turn into a zombie. Born by gathering the resentment of heaven and earth, they wouldn't age, die, and be indestructible. Some people listened to the words of the sorcerers and wanted to come back to life after death. Then they worked on the tomb, and then with the passage of time, they came back to life, but they didn't know what it was that came back to life. Ning Shu didn't care who this corpse was. He got a soul pearl. It was perfect. When the other celestial masters saw that Ning Shu was the first to open the coffin, they couldn't help but rush over. However, these malicious ghosts were pestering the angel. There were too many malicious ghosts, making it difficult for them to advance. Some malicious ghosts pounced on Ning Shu, but they were all repelled by the barrier. Ning Shu turned around and walked back. The zombie in the coffin opened its eyes. Its scarlet eyeballs rolled around, and it stood up without a sound. When the heavenly master saw the zombie stand up, he was stunned. The zombie. Luo Yi pointed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu shouted, "Behind you!" Ning Shu turned around and saw an ugly face facing him. Ning Shu gave it a big slap. "It was too smelly. Do you know how long you've been lying there without a bath?" The zombie roared and Ning Shu rushed over. Ning Shu's spiritual energy transformed into a long sword. He held it with both hands and slashed at the zombie's neck, directly cutting off its head. Burp. When the celestial masters saw that Ning Shu cut off the zombie's head so simply and violently, they didn't know what to say. Under the nourishment of the yin qi and all kinds of filthy qi, the corpse had turned into copper skin and iron bones. Ordinary weapons, even the celestial master's peachwood sword, couldn't pierce through the green-haired zombie's body. If the zombie was stained with blood, its strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Although the zombie's head was cut off, it flew back into its body. He raised his hand to correct it, and it was fine again. So, when the body was split, it could grow back together? They had never seen such an unscientific thing. Celestial Master Sure said, "Everyone, work harder. Don't let the zombie out of the tomb." If this kind of zombie went out, it would be like a pack of wolves entering a flock of sheep. Ordinary people could only be slaughtered. Moreover, zombies stained with human blood would become flying zombies and fly very fast. At that time, no matter how many celestial masters there were, they couldn't do anything to the zombie. No wonder the tomb was built in such a place. There was enough time to cultivate in the wild mountains and forests. Seeing how powerful Ning Shu was, the zombie didn't want to fight with Ning Shu. Instead, it went in the direction of the stone door. Obviously, it wanted to get out of the tomb. "Celestial Master Sure," Ning Shu shouted, "put down the stone door. Don't let it go out. If it goes out, it will be a disaster." The celestial masters present were killing the malicious ghosts silently. Once the stone door was closed, all of them would be locked inside and fight with the zombie and the malicious ghosts. All of them might even die here. Ning Shu removed the vines under the stone door, and the stone door closed with a bang. The zombie was angry and roared. Hearing the zombie's roar, all the malicious ghosts trembled and attacked the celestial masters more fiercely. Some of the celestial masters were defeated, mainly because there were too many malicious ghosts, and there were only a dozen celestial masters at most. The zombie especially hated Ning Shu. He disturbed his sleep and took away the thing in his mouth. It was unforgivable. Ning Shu rushed over aggressively. Ning Shu held his sword and slashed at the zombie's waist. The zombie's body was cut into two, but the two parts of the body wriggled and were about to grow back together. Ning Shu said to Luo Yi, "Give me some of your blood." Before Luo Yi could react, his finger was cut by Ning Shu's sword. Ning Shu dipped his finger in some blood. Luo Yi's blood was indeed very hot. When Ning Shu came into contact with the blood, he felt as if he had been scalded by boiling water. With Luo Yi's blood, Ning Shu formed a seal with both hands. The talisman hit the zombie. The zombie happened to connect its body together, but suddenly, a raging flame appeared on its body. The flame covered its entire body and enveloped the zombie. The zombie was in extreme pain from the burning flames. It wailed and crazily slammed its body against the wall. It even killed the celestial masters. Luo Yi was speechless. Was this person really a ghost? Why was she not afraid of his blood and actually knew the Celestial Master's methods? Could it be that she was a Celestial Master when she was alive? He felt that this person was too mysterious. He just saw a ghost on the street and casually stuck the talisman on her body. Damn it, tell him that this person was really a ghost, not a human. Although the zombie's body was covered in blood, its fighting strength was still very strong. Especially when it was at the end of the road, its fighting strength was even stronger. It would drag anyone down with it. Ning Shu formed a seal with both hands. The flames on the zombie's body rose and burned even more fiercely. Ning Shu held her sword and chopped off the zombie's head. Under the scorching heat of the fire, the zombie could no longer reconnect its body. The flames crackled loudly. Now, only these malicious ghosts were left. The death of the zombie weakened their momentum a lot. The Celestial Masters saw hope and used all kinds of methods. Luo Yi sprinkled his own blood. All the malicious ghosts that were stained with Luo Yi's blood had their souls sizzling and were in incomparable pain. Luo Yi used the peachwood sword to directly kill the malicious ghosts. Beside him, the Shikigami Gao Yang protected him. Chapter 30:19. Heavenly Master Shi was very strong. He could kill several malicious ghosts each time. With a cold expression, he protected Luo Yi behind him. Although Ning Shu was unhappy that Heavenly Master Shi had inexplicably released enemies, as a Heavenly Master, he had to do his duty to kill ghosts and demons. At that time, the zombies were about to run out and expose the stone door. It meant that everyone present might die, but Heavenly Master Shi still asked Ning Shu to put down the stone door. None of the Heavenly Masters present objected. The zombies were burned to death by the fire. In fact, it was not fire, but Yang Qi. Zombies were evil creatures, and Yang Qi restrained them greatly. However, it was not necessarily the case when one reached a certain level. For example, Jiangshan was still running around in broad daylight. He was basically unaffected. The zombies were dead. Ning Shu quickly wiped the blood off her hand on Luo Yi's body. This kind of blood stained the soul, and there was a scorching pain. Luo Yi was speechless. Why did she wipe it on his body? The zombies were burned by the flames. Ning Shu stood still. She had to pay attention to the situation of the soul pearl at all times. She left the malicious ghosts to Heavenly Master. The soul pearl could absorb souls. Although there was a barrier, Ning Shu did not dare to be careless. She was afraid that she would be sucked into the soul pearl and not be able to come out. She did not know how long the barrier could last. Heavenly Master fought with these malicious ghosts. Of course, the soul pearl could also absorb these malicious ghosts, but at the same time, the soul pearl would be exposed. Moreover, if she opened the barrier, her soul might be sucked in too. No, it was better to hide the soul pearl. The situation was very dangerous. Luo Yi began to bleed again. It seemed that he was preparing a big move. Heavenly Master Shi said angrily, "You rely too much on external things. If one day you encounter a stronger malicious ghost, will you have to drain all the blood in your body?" Heavenly Master Shi scolded Luo Yi while protecting him. He was very powerful when killing the malicious ghosts. All the malicious ghosts that were attacked by him were destroyed. Luo Yi used his blood to set up a large array. Ning Shu looked at it and saw that it was similar to the Yang gathering array. In any case, it gathered Yang Qi to destroy the malicious ghosts. After doing these things, Luo Yi's face was pale and he could not hold on any longer. Heavenly Master Shi grabbed his arm to prevent him from being attacked by the malicious ghosts. With Luo Yi's blood and the effect of the array, these malicious ghosts suddenly burst into flames, causing them to howl in pain. In the end, their souls dissipated. Although the ultimate move was quite satisfying, it could only be used once. If it was used again, Luo Yi would turn into a ghost. This was his trump card. When the last malicious spirit was burned to ashes, the surviving Celestial Master heaved a long sigh of relief and sat down on the ground to rest. Heavenly Master Shi placed Luo Yi on the ground and leaned against the wall. Then he walked to the side of the gorgeous coffin and looked at the funerary objects inside the coffin. In addition to some jades, there was also a long spear. The long spear was a little rusty, but other than that, there was nothing else of value. It wasn't anything valuable, but something worthless. The previous enchantment and illusion were suspected to be the tomb of a Taoist master, but now it seemed to be the tomb of a general. Since zombies could be formed, then there were conditions to form zombies. However, there were some ordinary things in the coffin. Then what kept the bones from rotting and turned them into zombies? Without thinking, Heavenly Master Shi immediately looked at Ning Shu. She was the first to open the coffin. If there was anything good in the coffin, she must have been the first to discover it and take it away. Ning Shu met Heavenly Master Shi's gaze calmly without any guilt. The things were in her hands, but did you see me take it? If you didn't, don't talk nonsense. The other celestial masters also leaned over to look at the things in the coffin. There were some jades, but these jades had been corroded by yin qi and could not be worn at all. This kind of thing could not ward off evil spirits. On the contrary, it could easily attract evil spirits. Only celestial masters could handle jades, but they did not care about these things. Celestial masters used the jades that ordinary people thought were precious as containers. Strange, why is there nothing here? Yes, how are zombies formed? What are they using to gather yin qi? There were conditions to form a zombie cultivating area. Some zombie cultivating areas were formed naturally because of the terrain, while some were artificially created. Of course, creating such a zombie cultivating area required a lot of things. At least, there must be some kind of treasure, a treasure of extreme yin, that could gather yin qi. This was not a zombie cultivating area, but there was nothing special here. It was really strange. Like Heavenly Master Shi, several celestial masters looked at Ning Shu. She was the first to open the coffin. Ning Shu shrugged and stretched out her hands. I didn't take anything, and there's nothing inside. The zombie must have been poor when it was alive. Otherwise, it would have been buried with a decent burial item. The celestial masters' faces were full of disbelief. We are celestial masters. How can we not know? A celestial master asked, whose Shikigami are you? Heavenly Master Shi frowned. As expected, Luo Yi was implicated. Luo Yi liked to cause trouble and provoked a female ghost with unknown intentions. Now that the female ghost took something, it was very likely that Luo Yi would be implicated. Heavenly Master Shi was sure that there must be something in the coffin, and the female ghost was probably looking for such a thing to make herself stronger. She was using that thing to cultivate. Heavenly Master Shi wanted to facepalm. Luo Yi was really an idiot. He was obviously being used. Can't he be less worrisome? Heavenly Master Shi felt that he was very worried. He had never been so worried before. Like his old father, Luo Yi's master was also not stingy. He should have taught Luo Yi well. Why did his disciple become so annoying? Luo Yi was about to speak when Heavenly Master Shi coughed. Cough, cough, cough. It was as if he had tuberculosis. Luo Yi immediately turned his attention to Heavenly Master Shi. Heavenly Master Shi, are you injured? Oh yes. Heavenly Master Shi nodded. I'm indeed injured. There's some yin qi in my body. Since there's nothing else, let's go. Fortunately, these malicious ghosts and zombies were eliminated in advance. Otherwise, the zombies would have looked for people to suck blood when they came out of the tomb. The Li family is the nearest family. If the zombies came out, the Li family would probably be the first to suffer. Heavenly Masters' bodies were different from ordinary people. Heavenly Masters could cultivate. Their blood and body contained energy. Ordinary people were more attractive to zombies. The Li family's Heavenly Master nodded. Fortunately, it was eliminated. Otherwise, who knows how dangerous it would be. Everyone, let's go out first. The yin qi here is too strong. Heavenly Master Shi said to divert everyone's attention from Ning Shu. It was not for Ning Shu, but because he did not want Luo Yi to be attacked by this group of Heavenly Masters. /BK. Chapter 30-20. After all, this female ghost was brought here by Luo Yi. If anything happened, Luo Yi would take the blame for her. Luo Yi was talented in catching ghosts, But it didn't mean that he was good at fighting with people. People's hearts were complicated, even for heaven masters. When it came to treasures that could improve their strength, they would definitely risk their lives to fight for them shamelessly. Everyone also felt a chill run down their spines and decided to leave the tomb first. As for the mysteries of this tomb, he would have to wait a while before exploring it. The Heaven Masters had taken away the jade and burial items in the coffin. If these things were sold on the black market, it would definitely harm people. This kind of jade could be used to make magic weapons, but after working so hard for so long, they only got a few pieces of jade of poor quality. Everyone was very disappointed. He was indeed a poor general. He was so poor that he probably used all his money to hire Heaven Masters. Otherwise, why would he be so poor? After leaving the tomb, the sun shone on them, but the Heaven Masters didn't feel any warmth. Instead, they felt cold. The more they basked in the sun, the colder they felt. Luo Yi wanted to talk to Ning Shu, but Heaven Master sure grabbed his arm and separated the two. It was not the right time to have more contact with this ghost. She must have taken something from the coffin. These Heaven Masters hadn't come back to their senses, but once they did, they would definitely destroy her. Ning Shu got her things and planned to leave. She wanted to leave this world. After thinking for a while, he took out the soul pearl and said to everyone, "This is what I found. Soul-sucking pearl. It's actually this thing." When everyone saw the soul pearl, their eyes lit up. The soul-sucking pearl was a powerful tool to catch ghosts. As long as it was used, malicious ghosts would be sucked in and never be able to come out. This thing could be said to be the dream of Heaven Masters. Under normal circumstances, it couldn't be forged. It wasn't man-made, so it was especially precious. The Heaven Masters became restless. Some of them held magic weapons and talismans, obviously wanting to fight. Now that they thought about it, the zombie was born by the soul pearl. It made sense that there was so much Inchi around it. "You're a ghost, right? What's the use of holding the soul-sucking pearl? Hand it over." Ning Shu played with the soul pearl in his hand and said with a smile, "It's fun. Aren't you afraid of being sucked into the soul-sucking pearl? Hand it over and we'll spare your life." The Heavenly Masters surrounded Ning Shu, and all kinds of Dharma artifacts rippled with Yang Qi. Luo Yi wanted to go over but was stopped by Heavenly Master Shi, who warned him in a low voice, "Don't go over." She was still stubborn before, saying that she didn't take anything. Now she took it out because she didn't want to implicate you. If these people can't find the thing, they might make trouble for you. After hearing Heavenly Master Shi's words, Luo Yi didn't know how to proceed. She muttered, "Although she's a ghost, she's quite affectionate and loyal." Heavenly Master Shi's eyebrows twitched. Sometimes he really didn't know what to do with this guy. However, Heavenly Master Shi did not try to snatch the soul-absorbing pearl. His philosophy had always been to strengthen himself. It was useless to rely on external objects. If one day he ran out of external objects, wouldn't he be crippled? Perhaps it was because of this mentality that Heavenly Master Shi was able to remain unmoved when he saw treasures. On the other hand, other Heavenly Masters were more indifferent and casual. However, when they met Luo Yi, this indifference collapsed. Heavenly Master Shi didn't know what Luo Yi's master was thinking to raise Luo Yi to such a character. He heard that Luo Yi was an orphan who was raised by his master. How did such an irrelevant master teach such a simple-minded disciple? Didn't he know that one shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but one must be vigilant against others? The atmosphere over there was tense because of the soul-absorbing pearl, but Luo Yi and Heavenly Master Shi were indifferent. Ning Shu put away the soul-absorbing pearl. "What's in my hands is mine. You're a ghost. Aren't you afraid that you'll be sucked into the soul-absorbing pearl and never be reincarnated?" Ning Shu smiled slightly and planned to leave this world. However, after trying a few times, he actually couldn't leave this world directly. He actually couldn't open the black hole. Ning Shu revealed an awkward but polite smile. Damn it, this world was difficult to enter and difficult to leave. It really made him speechless. What should he do now? Of course, he had to run. He didn't want to fight with these Heavenly Masters. It was meaningless. Ning Shu jumped through space and disappeared without a trace. The heavenly masters looked around but didn't find the ghost. They even used talismans to track Ning Shu, but the talismans fell to the ground and were useless. Unable to find the culprit, these heavenly masters looked at Luo Yi. That ghost is your Shikigami, right? Luo Yi shook his head. No, I only have one Shikigami. Luo Yi pointed at Gao Yang. I only have one Shikigami. Heavenly Master Shi said Luo Yi wanted to take that female ghost as his Shikigami, but now it seems that the female ghost is using Luo Yi. With Heavenly Master Shi's words, these heavenly masters didn't make things difficult for Luo Yi. Heavenly Master Shi had a very high status in the Heavenly Master Society. Secondly, he was very powerful. No one dared to make things difficult for Luo Yi in front of him. Looking at the thin and delicate Luo Yi, many people muttered in their hearts that this was Heavenly Master Shi's toy boy. Luo Yi's master had never brought his disciple to the heavenly masters. Therefore, many people thought that Luo Yi was a heavenly master who was riding on someone's coattails. Now, the heavenly masters had more important things to do, and that was to find the female ghost. Luo Yi and Heavenly Master Shi went home. Luo Yi invited Heavenly Master Shi to drink tea upstairs. After all, Heavenly Master Shi had helped him a lot. Luo Yi felt that it was reasonable to invite him to dinner. Heavenly Master Shi's heart beat faster. He calmed himself down. This kind of invitation was a bit ambiguous for Heavenly Master Shi. He nodded as if nothing had happened and agreed to go downstairs. As soon as they opened the door, they saw the female ghost in white sitting on the sofa with her legs crossed, watching TV. You're back. Ning Shu and Luo Yi smiled. Heavenly Master Shi pushed Luo Yi behind him. He looked at Ning Shu warily and asked, Why are you here? What do you want? Ning Shu spread his hands and said, I have nowhere to go. So I can only come here. After that, Ning Shu tried several times, but he couldn't leave this world. This made Ning Shu a little annoyed. Now, he felt that the heavenly Tao of the third level was not difficult to communicate with. The heavenly Tao of this world was strange. It was not easy to come in. Then he was not allowed to go out. Since he couldn't go out, he could only stay. He had to stay. In the end, he chose to come to Luo Yi's small apartment. Then, Luo Yi and Heavenly Master Shi saw this scene. Heavenly Master Shi sneered, You are now wanted by many heavenly masters. You will only cause trouble for Luo Yi here unless you give the soul-sucking pearl to him. If she gave the soul-sucking pearl to Luo Yi, there would be no problem for her to follow Luo Yi. She couldn't let Luo Yi take the blame without any benefits. /BK Chapter 3021. Even Master Shi had to admit that the soul-sucking pearl was a good thing. No matter what kind of powerful ghost it encountered, it could directly suck it in. The malicious ghost that was sucked into the soul-sucking pearl could never come out again. It was simply a divine tool to catch ghosts. Master Shi had no objection to letting Luo Yi use it. Master Shi was like a worried old mother who wanted to put all the good things in front of Luo Yi. Moreover, the intention of this female ghost was confusing. What was her purpose of coming to Luo Yi? She was not weak, which was why Master Shi was so afraid. If it was an ordinary malicious ghost, he would kill it or throw it to hell to suffer. But Master Shi felt that he could not release this female ghost. It was impossible to give the soul-sucking pearl to Luo Yi. Ning Shu shook his head. No, I can't give him the soul-sucking pearl. But I will teach him some charms. It's too restrictive to always draw charms on paper. He should draw charms in the air. Celestial Master Shi narrowed his eyes. Luo Yi poked his head out from behind Celestial Master Shi and said to Ning Shu, Celestial Master Shi is right. You are indeed in danger now. You should hide in the mountains. Ning Shu shook his head. I want to follow you. What was the use of hiding in the mountains? He couldn't go back. It was better to follow Luo Yi. Luo Yi was easy to talk to, but Master Shi always had a cold face. He disliked Shikigami. Ning Shu was not a masochist. That was why he followed Master Shi. Master Shi just said, If you cause trouble for Luo Yi, don't blame me for being rude. Don't worry. I will protect him. I don't need your protection. As long as you don't appear in front of other masters. Master Shi pulled a long face. Ning Shu did not look at him. He stared at the TV. Although the male and female leads were crying, he felt much more comfortable facing Master Shi's face. Gao Yang sat on the sofa, and Luo Yi went to cook. The two ghosts and a Master Shi in the living room maintained an eerie silence. The male lead's affectionate confession on the TV made the atmosphere even more inexplicable. Ning Shu looked at the TV with a smile. Gao Yang was really restless. He got up and went to the kitchen to see when the master was done cooking. The confrontation between the two big shots made him very uncomfortable. Although Gao Yang was now a Shikigami, he was still instinctively afraid of the Taoist master. This female ghost was very powerful. She even burned the zombies in the graveyard. When these two big shots were fighting with their auras, he felt really uncomfortable at the side. Let's eat. Luo Yi acted as if he didn't feel the weird atmosphere and asked Heavenly Master Shi to eat. As a ghost, Ning Shu naturally couldn't eat the smoke and fire of the human world. Heavenly Master Shi snorted, as if he was showing off. Luo Yi was an orphan. His life skills were excellent. Since he was young, he had to take care of himself and his unreliable master. He had to worry about eating, drinking, defecating, and sleeping. The dishes looked, smelled, and tasted good, which made Heavenly Master Shi feel better. Although Luo Yi was 250, he took care of him for the sake of his master. With her personality, even if she wasn't deceived by ghosts, she would still be deceived by others. After eating, Heavenly Master Shi had no reason to stay here. He moved his feet with difficulty. When he saw the female ghost in the living room who was holding her stomach and giggling pretentiously, he was even more worried about letting Luo Yi interact with her. Ning Shu waved his hand. Drive carefully. I won't see you out. Heavenly Master Shi was speechless. Luo Yi didn't ask him to stay, and Heavenly Master Shi was embarrassed to stay, so he could only leave. Before he left, he gave Ning Shu a warning look and said to Gao Yang, "Protect your master well. Inform me if anything happens. Don't let your master be harmed by wild ghosts." Ning Shu smiled meaningfully. He didn't seem to realize that the wild ghost he was talking about was himself. After Heavenly Master Shi left, Luo Yi sat opposite Ning Shu and asked, "What are your plans next?" Heavenly Master Shi is right. You can't show yourself now. I'm with you. It doesn't matter. I can turn invisible. Ordinary people can't do anything to me. The main thing was that she couldn't get out of this world. If she could get out, she wouldn't have to follow Luo Yang. When the time was right, she would definitely be able to get out. As Ning Shu spoke, his body disappeared. Do you know where I am? Ning Shu's voice came from all directions. Luo Yi couldn't accurately know where the invisible Ning Shu was. I'm relieved that you have your own means. However, you have the soul-sucking pearl. My master said that treasuring a treasure is a crime. You should be careful. Luo Yi only said one sentence and opened a very old and thick notebook. This notebook was obviously an obsolete product. It was so thick and heavy. There was even dust on the keyboard. A Taoist master's profession was still very valuable. He could check feng shui for rich businessmen and catch ghosts. The remuneration was not low each time. Why didn't he get a new computer? Luo Yi opened a website. It was the website of the Heavenly Master Association. There were all kinds of ghost-catching missions. Completing the missions would give you money. Hearing Ning Shu's words, Luo Yi said, "Master passed this computer to me." Ning Shu was speechless. The speed of opening the website was extremely slow. It took half a day to even open a page. Moreover, with Ning Shu's little bit of hacking skills, Ning Shu knew that this computer was infected. It was definitely Luo Yi's master who had nothing better to do than to browse the website, and it was the kind that did not kill the virus. This computer was really fucking pitiful. Luo Yi's master, who was always mysterious, must be very wretched. He was an old man who would do foot massage when he had nothing to do. TSK, he definitely didn't look like a sage at all. He didn't expect Luo Yi to be so pure. Luo Yi accepted a mission and had to go out in the middle of the night. Ning Shu asked, "Do you want me to go with you?" Luo Yi said, "This mission isn't very difficult. I can handle it myself." Since Luo Yi said so, Ning Shu did not insist on following him. Luo Yi's basic skills were still very solid. Ning Shu glanced at it previously. It was a matter of malicious ghosts harming people at a construction site. Moving the ground was a very dangerous thing because no one knew what terrifying things were below or what they would disturb if they moved the ground. Under such circumstances, it was very easy for something to go wrong. Generally speaking, before breaking the ground, they would find a heavenly master or an expert to take a look. They would determine the time of breaking the ground and make sure that they would not disturb something. Otherwise, it was very easy for something to go wrong at a construction site. Once something went wrong, the compensation would be hundreds of thousands of yuan. It would also slow down the progress of the project. Now that something had happened at the construction site, Ning Shu felt that the chances of Luo Yi being able to handle it were a little low. Luo Yi walked in front and Ning Shu followed behind. No one could discover him while he was invisible. He didn't know if Luo Yi was brave enough to go to a construction site at night. However, some things would only appear at night and hide during the day. /BK, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.